and we limit public comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to an item which is not on the posted agenda? Mr. Palmer? And I know, as you see, we've got a pretty,
I'm going to try and be,
okay, thank you.
but I have three things that I'd love to be addressed in the future. My name's Joe Palmer, 158 Parkerville Road. One is I would love to see an accounting of what's been spent of the ARPA funds and have those distributed and made available to the public, but also to capital and advisory and the ARPA committee. We have a town meeting come up, not in the distant future. Capital should be aware of what to alter on their plan and to know what might be coming down the pike. Second is that I think that I know there's been a lot of talk. I know you've talked amongst yourselves about having a whole communication plan between the town and the citizens. For instance, I think everybody in the town should be notified when there's a select board meeting and making them aware of the fact that when it's going to be. I know it's set days, but people get caught up in their lives and don't necessarily know what's going on. You know, the people around 21 Highland had no idea that there were even discussions going on. A lot of them for quite a while. I think it's time that a committee was formed to address that and to make a formal plan. Just sending out flyers for this MBTA zoning. There's an opportunity to gather data every time the town communicates, whether it's an email address or a phone number or some other method that they can communicate through. That would be great. The third thing is, I think that there needs to be or addressed a plan to fight the MBTA community zoning project. Now, I don't know what's going to happen at town meeting, whether they're going to vote through a zoning plan that the town has. But in the event that we don't, we should have a plan of how to fight it on multiple levels, either both legal and PR. I know that there are other towns in that zone that have less of a mandate than we do. So there may be room for us to at least negotiate with the state over the MBTA communities, but we need to have a plan of how to do that. And I think part of it involves soliciting our rep, our state senator, maybe even people higher office, governor, lieutenant governor, to come and to explain to us why here in this small town, why our mandate is the same as towns much bigger than us, why towns that have a much less state burden. We already have the train station, we have the Pike, we have Route 9, we have the MWRA, and we have the pipelines all running through this small town. Most towns much bigger than us have nothing, or maybe a little piece of the state infrastructure. We have a ton of it. And there's no reason why we should be overburdened by this plan of urban sprawl. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other public comments in person or in the audience? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda under scheduled appointments is the continued Class 2 auto dealer hearing for 206 Turnpike Road. And you two gentlemen, oh, do you have chairs there? Okay, maybe you can just slide them up here. So I'm, oh, good, they are there. They are there. I couldn't see it from this angle. Just wanted to make you feel comfortable. So by way of background, I'm sorry, I don't remember your names, but these two gentlemen, or at least one of you, was with us virtually back from September 19th, and a lot of memories have been since September 19th about this matter. I remember just it being difficult to hear and understand with the audio link. So I suggest if you could just give briefly a summary of who you are, what your business is, what you're looking to do, you know, in terms of hours of operation, number of vehicles, etc. And then we'll open it up again to members of the board for any questions that people may have.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Ming. You can call me Leo, which is my last name. So, we are planning to open a class 2 dealership in Southborough, and we sell used only. And we have several other stores across different states that's outside Massachusetts. So, we have been in the business for a couple of years, and we are trying to bring our business to the local community and to the town of Southborough.
Okay,
And my name is Peng Tian. I'll prefer go by Peng, which means my first name. I'm the store manager. I've been in this business for like several years. I've been working Boston for a while, and now me and Leo will join the local communities following for the day-to-day operation of the store.
okay. You're going to provide some more context about, where your other stores are located and also, the hours of operation of the proposed dealership and the number of vehicles you'd be looking to store on site.
Sure. We have our first stores located in Indiana, Lafayette, Indiana, and we have one more in Bloomington, Indiana, and one in Champaign, Illinois. We have one store in Atlanta in Georgia, and another store in
Dallas,
Dallas, Texas.
and
And,
White California is coming soon.
Yep. That's the store we plan to open like after Massachusetts. We are trying to focus on the mid-tier priced used vehicle. So that will be a big section of the used auto market, and we hope that can bring in the business. And
your hours of operation?
oh, sure. We are proposing to open from 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday.
Okay, thank you. Al, do you have questions?
Yes, welcome to Southborough, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you
thank
for
you.
coming. I appreciate it. I know that a few of the residents had expressed concerns about test drives being taken on Middle Road. Would it be acceptable to you gentlemen if we required that test drives exit right out of your driveway and return the same way? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay.
So our plan was not just become a local community dealership. So our owners do have plans to grow our business to different areas, and because of the internet, we have a lot of clients that check out the vehicles and do all other documentations online without even visiting our store, which is pretty amazing nowadays. And in that way, we are actually reducing the foot traffic in our store. And also because we purchased this property that is not directly on Route 9.
Right.
So we don't, you won't even see our building. So that also goes in line with our plans because we have more presence online than just an open store and to attract people.
As I say, I wish you all of the luck in the world. We need successful businesses in town, and it's acceptable to you if we put that as a condition of your license.
Yes.
So
So you want them to take a right and a right?
yeah, right and a right and return the same way. Just
Yes.
keeping traffic off of Middle Road.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And welcome to Southborough. And I wish you
Thank you.
I wish
Thank
you
you so
luck.
much.
Marguerite?
I have no questions.
Sam?
I'll echo Mr. Hamilton's comments. So we encourage new business in town. So thank you for considering Southborough. One follow-up from the conversation last time, it's my understanding that there will be no repairs done on site. You subcontracted that to someone else outside.
Mhm.
And that would be an acceptable condition as well to the permit, no on-site repair work.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy?
So I echo the welcome to Southborough
Thank you.
comment. We love new business. So we've had an issue with a similar business recently where cars were being delivered at all time during the night, and it was disturbing the neighborhood with headlights shining in windows, et cetera. I don't think that's going to be the case where you are. But just to be clear, are you going to have cars delivered outside the 10 to 6?
Well, we have been working with truck drivers or trailer drivers before, so they are fully aware that we are a business, and business only open during business hours. So we will not be taking deliveries or send our cars outside our proposed business hours.
Okay, good answer. All right, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any further questions, and thank you for your patience and coming back for continued hearing in person. So would someone like to take a stab?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Well,
You want to?
Let Bonnie.
actually, Mrs. Fana
Oh, I'm
has a
sorry.
comment.
I'm sorry for holding you up. I was in the property yesterday. You probably saw me driving around. The deliveries, when you receive the vehicles, twice now, the trailer that was delivering them stopped on Route 9 to unload at the turnaround. Is that going to be happening?
Well,
Well, it shouldn't be happening because it's at the turnaround and you can't get out of Middle Road to go right.
we will try our best to ask all the trailer drivers to get closer to our building to do the unloading, and we will make sure that they do not stop on Route 9 anymore.
Right, it's happened twice in a month.
Well, I think there might be different there might be some difficulties in the communications, but once we are open and fully operational, we will have better contact with all the truck drivers.
All right, I'd
And-
like that to be in a condition because it is the turnaround at Route 9 at Middle Road in both directions. And the other observation that I've made, bringing the vehicles into your site, which is very neat.
Mhm.
There seems to be conflict with what's happening behind you. And if you're delivering vehicles, the rotation of the trucks in the parking lot. But the landscape company going in and out and you bringing in a tractor trailer with cars on it. It doesn't seem like there's an area for that or allow you to back out of there either.
There are some areas in our parking lots, even though it doesn't look very big, but most trailer drivers, they are professionals. They've been doing the business, their business for years. And as long as there is some room to let them turn around, they will make their way.
Okay, and the third thing is that there be no parking on the grass area behind the abutter, Mrs. Leeds property and running idle vehicles.
Yeah, we will make sure all the truck drivers stay on pavements, because we know the grassland are usually very soft, and once they get on, they cannot get out. So
Yeah.
so nobody want to get on grass. And thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I don't think we can make it a condition that no parking on Route 9 there. I mean, we can, take their efforts to encourage drivers not to, but they don't actually directly control the drivers at all times. So I think
Yep.
the intent is clear. But it seems to me
so I mean,
conditioning it that way is a step too far, frankly.
I tend to agree with you. And another thing is they've already been through a site plan approval process with.
Yep.
But the one kind of point of reference that I can think of is from prior things in the ZBA involving Ken's Foods, where there are successive permits to expand it. I mean, I believe that for some of their permits, the condition isn't that, the trucks have to take this certain way, but that the holder of the license will direct
Yes,
people
Yep.
coming and going to take.
and
this particular
that works for me, certainly.
Yeah. Okay, so take a stab at this and,
I'll take a stab at it.
okay, all right.
All right, so I move to approve the application of CAC Auto Group Boston LLC for a Class 2 used car dealer's license with the condition that all test drives will be made by requesting the test drivers to take a right onto Middle Road and then a right onto Route 9 when they're making a test drive and reverse it on the way back.
And condition of repairs.
And
Off
that's
site.
actually in here. I mean, they've got the contract and the condition that all repairs are done off-site pursuant to the contract that we have in front of us.
Second, do you want to add, Mr. Denning?
No, no, that sounds good.
Intent, okay. I'll second then.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? Oh, and now we need to close the public hearing. Great.
Mhm.
Okay, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second,
All
Welcome to
in favor?
Southborough.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you have a little, any other information you want to give about your business to people here, it's a good opportunity to.
Hand out your business cards.
That's right.
Yeah, we will prepare that. And even though we are, our main market is online, but we are still open to the local community. So if anyone want to buy a new car, just come to our lot and
Okay.
check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
The next item on our agenda is an update from the golf course committee on the golf course. And in particular, consideration of capital improvements from the golf. Excuse me. You just go outside. Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, and Mr. Schoner,
Yes,
all right, could you just introduce yourself and
my name is Tony Schoner. I'm the chairperson of the Southborough Golf Committee. I sent in slides. Do you guys have the slides
get the
available?
yes, Jay has them.
Okay, so we can walk through them. Thank you very much. So I was here a year ago presenting on behalf of the Southborough Golf Committee. Over the last year, a lot of progress has been made. If we can move to the next slide, please. As a reminder, this is really a very unique part of Southborough. Not many towns have a public golf course. I really highly commend the group of people that made the decision 5 years ago or so to keep this in town. I think that was an incredibly good decision. Lots of people use the golf course. It's just a wonderful outdoor recreation area. It's a historically significant golf course. It preserves lots of land in the middle of town. The number of users using the golf course is going up a lot each year. And the course is self-funded. The clever mechanism that was put in place 5 years ago to pay for the enhancements to the course is working. The course has been self-funded for the last 5 years. Next slide, please. There are 5 current members on the committee. I'm here this evening, and Rosemary Fedorchak is here also. Quite a few improvements over the last year. For those of you who have not been up there, the driveway has been paved, the parking lot's been paved. Several projects were executed in the last year to, and maybe there's a better way of saying this, but we're trying to keep more balls on the course, have fewer balls leave the course. There's been quite a bit of feedback from the neighbors, particularly on Lattice Esquama, and so the committee's been listening, and with the funds from the revolving fund, we've been able to do quite a few things to try to keep more balls on the course. Moved 2 tee boxes, added quite a few trees, added some more fencing. So I think all of those projects over the last year are really just very nice improvements to the course. Next slide, please. As you can see here, the rounds continue to grow year over year. Certainly, there's been a return to golf in general in the United States over the last 5 years. And the course is looking better. It's just it's a nice looking course in the middle of town. And so all of these things have lined up for continued growth at the Southborough Golf Club. Next slide, please. And you can see that the funds coming back to the town, where it says town fee, have been continuing to grow. So these are the funds that have been used to pay for the improvements so far. So a forecast of over $80,000 coming back into the revolving fund that can be used to further improve the course. So the golf course is a financially viable entity. in addition to being a great thing in the middle of town. Next slide, please. So we have a couple of projects that we'd like to pursue, that the management company would like to pursue in the very near term, this fall. Improving some drainage on the first hole, improving the cart path on the third hole, refurbishing a number of bunkers that haven't been refurbished in over 20 years. And installing some additional netting on Lattisquama, again, trying to keep balls on the course. So it's not entirely clear to me how these funds get approved, but if you guys have a role in approving these funds, we'd like your approval. So that the funds could be spent from the revolving fund and pursue these projects in the near term. Longer term, but next year, the golf committee would like to pursue replacing the irrigation system. The irrigation system is over 50 years old. It's leaking, it fails frequently. It's difficult to operate, time consuming to operate. The time has come to replace this irrigation system. A new system has been designed that would reduce water consumption, provide better coverage, and just be easier to operate for the management company. It would make the course look better. We have an estimate of $525,000 for putting in this new irrigation system. We have a lot of confidence that the management company could, manage this project to get this put in place. And so I think this would be a really good outcome for the golf course and the town. It's a substantial amount of money that would need to be allocated to do this. We're in the process of talking to the CPC committee about using CPA funds. So I'll be presenting to them this Thursday. We submitted an application a while ago. So we'd like some guidance from this committee about how we should think about funding an activity like this. $525,000. I understand it. Maybe some of the funding could come from the revolving fund. Maybe some comes from CPA funds. I think you guys have some input into how that process works. And so any guidance you can provide or advice you can provide about how we go down this path would be very appreciated.
Okay. I guess I'll start with one question. So the quote of 525,000, how did you get that quote?
The management company
Or estimate.
The management company reached out to a vendor that designs and installs these and came back with a pretty clean proposal.
Okay.
So we have drawings and estimates of equipment and installation times. And so we feel like we have a pretty good estimate from 9 months ago now.
So that number would help to inform like the up to number in a town meeting warrant article, but then it would go out to bid before you actually did it. You get multiple bids, so that might come in more favorable, particularly based on the time of year that you put out the bid, maybe?
I don't know how to answer that one.
Okay.
I don't
Except
know.
that we're a year away from doing it too, so you've got the inflation part.
Yeah, okay.
And
Understood.
this was a contractor, I believe, that the management company has worked with.
That's correct.
So it's people that they have experience with and presumably have some confidence in that number as far as we know at this point. So
Okay.
it's encouraging.
Okay, well, I mean, I have definitely heard about the antiquated nature of the irrigation system, and I think it's worth making a long-term investment in the course, since it's something that is generating a lot of benefit to the town. So, I mean, what you're looking here is how to structure it in terms of, first off, is it CPA eligible?
Yes.
Confirmed?
So from talking to the head of that committee, they've said
Right.
yes. So, they have to follow their process. And so I'll defer to Mark, and you guys know more about this than I do.
And it would come out of the open space bucket,
Recreation bucket.
recreation
yeah.
budget. Okay.
Yeah.
The issue is whether there's enough money to do it. So that's what they're debating, because they've got some competing projects that are
Yeah.
being proposed. So we will work on this. We will get this figured out as far as how
Can
to get
you-
this done.
I mean, one of the things I've thought about, obviously, other people weigh in here too, is you could do some combination of both. And
Mhm.
could you kind of bond or borrow against part of future revolving fund receipts?
So the good news is Brian's sitting in the front row, so if I get this wrong, he can jump up. If you remember when we did the bond for the new turf at 9/11 field, And that originally was a 5-year permit with DEP. I believe there were projections put together for a 15-year bond. Bond council would not approve that because the bonding period went beyond the permit and there was no guarantee that permit was going to continue. The same way here is that this amount of money is likely going to mean a bond, which would be longer than the contract we have with the management company, which is
5
where the
years?
revenue is derived from. I think
Goes to the end of
Three
26.
years plus an extension.
26 is the end. of the
3 with,
contract.
with 2 1-year extensions at the town's discretion. So so in other words, you'd have to find a way to try to line that up to some degree. I know that Mr. Valentine tends to be pretty aggressive in his bonding schedules. You need to see, what makes sense. If you take a look, at, the slide that was up in terms of the revenues that the town has taken in, it's just been last year and this year where things have really started to take off. Last year, about 76,000. This year, probably 81,000 conservatively based on October, November in the past. Before that, it had been 30,000, 20,000. It really had been low. So we're really starting to see some revenue. There are some projects that Golf identified, some of the near-term projects that I think can be paid directly out of the fund. But this is something that, we'll really, as Ms. Cook had said, going to need to take a look at how this gets structured. So that if you want to take benefit from the revolving fund as well as whatever CPC is willing to invest in the project.
And Tony, are you also going to the advisory committee, seek similar? I mean, eventually you'll need to go to the advisory committee if it's on the town meeting warrant to get there. It'd be nice to be aligned with the advisory committee.
Certainly, if that's someone we need to speak to, then we'll speak to them.
Not trying to create more work.
They're going to make, they make a recommendation to town meeting for anything that's financial, so they will get involved in this.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, does CPC have the same bonding restriction that Mark just described as far as having the contract match the term of the bond? I don't think so either. So I just don't think we should get into details of how to do this. I think it's
Okay.
all doable. I'm certainly all in favor of everything you've listed there. I'm hoping that we get to the point that we've really got the major capital of the way and we can actually start pulling some money out of the revolving fund to fund the general fund expenses. We're not quite there yet, but I think this is a project we can now look back on, just like you said, and be very happy with the way it has turned out. You didn't know how it was going to turn out when we first did this, but this year we're now in that second tranche of revenue where we're getting 20% instead of 12%. So we've crossed over that for the first time. So it's definitely going, as your slide showed, in the right direction. So I appreciate everything you personally have done and your eagerness to do this and your attitude about the whole thing. So we will work with CPC on trying to figure out how to structure this.
Al, and then I saw Margarita.
Yeah, a couple quick questions. You had cited that there would be substantial labor savings in implementing a new system. Have you made an estimate of what those are?
No. So
Is-
we could ask the management company.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
give some guidance on.
Labor savings are
Yeah, that's
measured in dollars and cents.
That's a very
and
good question.
Dollar and
That's-
cents can be used to fund.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they're not our labor savings. So we
Well-
just get, we get a slice of the top, right? And then the management company pays for all the labor, everything. So it'd save them money and maybe we could get a better deal worked out,
Well,
but
Maybe
it's
the
not our
management
labor.
company would like to contribute if we extended their contract. It seems to me that I would like to see this funded out of golf revenues. I do not want to see this funded out of the CPA. I'm on the record as saying that we spend way too much CPA money in this general neighborhood, and unfortunately, you're in the general neighborhood. So I think the golf course, we need to find a mechanism so that the golf course stands on its own. And that includes its long-term expenses. It does look to me like irrigation system should certainly have at least a 10-year depreciation schedule, and the 525K over 10 years seems like a reasonable number to be financed. I think the numbers are there if we can get the legal niceties to line up with the numbers.
So I actually the opposite. I'd much rather see it funded through CPA because CPA has to use money for certain purposes and then free up the revolving fund to be able to use against general fund expenses. We can talk about this. I don't think we're beside this tonight, but
CPA has a state match
Yeah.
there as well, so.
Marguerite?
Two questions. One, can you just briefly describe to me what the parts are of this irrigation system? Is it piping underground and then pumps and surely 50 years ago, it looked a lot different from what you put in now.
So yes, it's an underground sprinkler system. There are pipes that get run throughout the property. And we have a diagram. I don't know if we have access to that. I sent you a diagram. I don't know if it's easy to put up on the screen here. But we have a diagram that shows where the pipes go on the property. Where the small, there, it's right, it's up there right now. It shows where the pipes go on the property, where the heads would be, the sprinkler heads would be. It shows where the connection is to the water supply. So, it's an effective sprinkler system for a golf course, for a public golf course. We've had quite a bit of discussion about, is this the right kind of sprinkler system for this golf course? And we think it is.
It's a lot bigger than what's currently the same footprint.
I don't know if I could describe it as bigger. It's a dramatically better one. The one that's in there right now is simply old and failing.
All right. I like that we got promoted to a country club.
I know,
Yeah.
Country club.
So I think that's the wrong term. My wife pointed that out today too, so that's the wrong term.
Right, right, right. So could this be done in phases? It seems like to me, just coming to it, it seems like a lot of money.
That's an interesting question. I'm gonna just give you my opinion, but I could be completely wrong, but I suspect not.
Okay.
Because I think once the contractor shows up, they want to dig all the trenches, not just, 10% of the trenches. So I think this is a do it all at once sort of project.
And how long would the course be shut down while this was done? Do you know? roughly?
I don't know the answer to that. I think the intention would be to do it in a way that doesn't affect play. So it might be able to be done before the season. The goal was to do it early next season, if we can align everything. So I don't know. Let me come back with an answer to that.
Okay, I
don't
mean,
know.
it's not pressing.
Yeah. So that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how long the course would be out of play. I suspect either not at all or a very short time.
Okay, I can see you've done a lot of homework on this, so.
It's an interesting, it's a nice golf course, and for golfers, it would be nice to make this change. So we've had a lot of discussion about the irrigation system.
All right.
So about the district, they now have, the folks that install these, there's a machine that, it's not like you dig up the entire ground, lay the pipe.
Yeah.
There's a machine that like drills a hole and then you lay it underneath, and then you just need to do some like top seeding on top of it.
There's also a control system.
Okay.
And then there is a control
Yep.
system. Yep, there's a computer that controls it all. Yep.
So Brian, one more question while you're here. CPA articles that get approved in March, have to wait till July 1st? Yes?
Okay. So. The Sam, do you have any other?
Just to point out, I'm also in favor of CPA funding for this, for a variety of reasons. One is that, again, the state match that makes it effectively somewhat less expensive for the town. I'd also point out that the lower revenue in the early years on the prior chart partly was a result of the construction that was going on for the public safety building, and was a real disruption in terms of the course operations there. And frankly, it made it a lot harder for the management company to generate margin on that business. So they suffered from the low revenue for several years there while that settled out. And they're now making more money. And it's my sense from sort of anecdotal observation that they are more willing now to spend money on some of these improvements from their revenues, their piece of the revenue, because they're doing a lot better now than they were during earlier years here. And finally, I think the irrigation is important because early on, before the whole project started, the public safety building, previous golf committee had consultants in who looked at the capacity of the course. And the estimates were that we can bump the rounds by somewhere in the range of 20% over what we're seeing now, if we can get more play out of the course, which irrigation will certainly help extend the season. So I think it's a reinforcing process here that that investment, I think, will pay back in terms of increased revenue to the town as well. So I strongly support this.
So I'm sorry, so you've kind of jogged my memory here, Sam. So it's also the case that it's rained a lot this year.
Yes.
And so the course looks very good, not because of the existing failing irrigation system, but because it has rained a lot. And so a lot of people are happy to go out and play on the course. And so if it's dry next year, if we don't have a new irrigation system, at some point play will drop off, and those funds that the town is benefiting from right now might also drop off. So I think in some ways, a new irrigation system is an investment in making this, continuing to have those funds flow in.
So just to kind of conclude what I think you're asking for tonight, the first list of things that cost $60,000 first. We can do that out of the revolving fund with a vote of the select board. So we don't have to wait for town meeting for that. So that could get done sooner than later, as long as the money is in the revolving fund. And I'm not sure what's in there right now. So we got to look and see what's in it. So that can happen soon. The 550 is probably going to have to wait to town meeting one way or the other. So you're probably talking about a year from now and not next spring, unfortunately, to get that one done, I think.
Okay, and Mr. Hamilton had a.
So just sort of a quick observation here, which is, if we're going to invest, another $500,000 in the facility, I think we ought to have a conversation with the management company about the return we get on that money. And, this may be the time to renegotiate the arrangement. If, the $500,000 is not a small amount of the taxpayers' money. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a business, pure and simple. I don't golf. Well, I do, but what I do with a club, you wouldn't call golf. But, if we're going to invest $500,000 plus in this facility, then I think we ought to be talking about the return we get on our investment.
And I agree. I want to see a return too. So I think that's what the ultimate goal is.
So I think this is the time also to sit down with the management company. We can talk about extending their agreement if they're interested, and about the terms.
I understand the concept. I guess I would view that as a conversation at the next renewal date. Because I think they're still underwater a little bit from the slowdown from the construction process there. My personal observation. I don't have any numbers for that, but
You want another $500,000? Let's sit down and talk.
So to kind of,
I've got lots of other uses for this money. We need playgrounds in this town. And, there are no playgrounds in my neighborhood. There are no fire hydrants in my neighborhood.
Sidewalks.
There's no parks in my neighborhood.
sidewalks.
There are no sidewalks in my neighborhood. And this neighborhood,
well, that's not all CPA eligible, but
I understand, but there are other claims on this money. And make me a business proposal for how we get a return on the 5.25, and I'm all ears.
so just to kind of sum up. You're not here looking for a particular vote, I think, right? But just,
Certainly not on the irrigation system.
okay, yeah, just some general feedback and,
Well, I do think golf committee would like a vote on those 4 near-term projects. I
Yeah.
mean, I can guarantee you that we have $60,000 in that fund
We
because
do,
that is what we've taken in.
the last 2
We've
months.
taken in so far.
And we
this year.
haven't spent it. Okay. So you can get this done in the fall?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
What is the balance of the revolving fund?
More than 60? I'd have to go back. I don't have access to that. I have to go.
would this have to also go through the capital committee or?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, because,
Would inform capital committee as to what is being done.
okay. It's a bunch of smaller things that in total add up to 60.
Yes.
Okay.
that first line up there.
So I'll
You
make,
want to do it this. fall,
I
so you get
think
it
there's
done.
an ability to get the
Okay.
majority of that work
Yep.
done.
To do it this
this fall.
calendar year.
Okay,
Yes.
Yep.
all right. That makes sense to me. Okay,
me too.
I move that the select board authorize expenditure from the golf revolving fund for the 4 near-term projects shown on this presentation from the golf course committee,
Totaling up to 60,000.
totaling up
Yeah,
to
not to
$60,000,
exceed.
not to exceed 60.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? And just on Kathy, a follow-up question to your point. You think this is something that's not gonna be on a town meeting warrant for spring 2024, but 2025?
No, 24, but you can
Okay.
expend it to 7/1/24. you're in the middle of the golf season at that point, so they won't
Okay, I
be able to do
understand.
it till after the golf
Okay.
season 24.
I think it does make sense to do it in a way where you use CPA money, but also some of the golf course revolving fund.
I think it depends on what the CPA fund buckets look like.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, are there any other competing recreation projects?
They've
for
got
this?
3 in total.
Yeah, the Lundblatt Field.
And they've got the trails. So they've got 3. So they, we
That's-
got to see what the money looks like.
Okay. All right, well, there are no other comments. We got a busy agenda tonight.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Mr. Shoner, and
you
everyone
for your
in the
time,
golf
everyone.
course committee for your good work.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so do we have our presenters for the retiree health plan here? Okay. Okay. So the next item on our agenda, which I think a lot of people are here for, is a presentation on and a vote on changes regarding the town's retiree health insurance plan. And Jay, do you have, okay, you got the slide show up? So,
That's fine.
okay, so Brian, would you like to speak first or introduce our presenters? Why don't you take it from here?
Absolutely. So thank you for having us tonight to decide this sensitive and important topic. I know we've kept you apprised that we were looking into this, and as you understand, our renewal date for the retiree insurance is January 1st of 24. That's when we always do it for a year long term. And every renewal, active or retiree, we always take a look a little bit ahead of any changes that may be, in the offing. Do we want to change providers for a reason? Do we want to change the level of benefits? All sorts of questions. So in spring, we started this, early spring, I want to say, and started having at least conversations about it. And so in ways of introduction to this is Rusty Short and Ken Lombardi from NFP. NFP has been with us a long time, probably well before me. Or and I think they were EBS Foran originally, but so we've had the gentleman here for a long, long time, their services. So they had suggested looking this year into this Aetna plan. And it's not, there's been a lot of confusion a little bit about it because it's not your typical Aetna plan. It's a somewhat of a custom Aetna plan. So people expected you could go on the Aetna website and just see this. You can't. It's something that's in Massachusetts and been in multiple communities in Massachusetts, but it's not something that you can find on their website, which is important because we had a lot of questions about that, about, how the plan wasn't exactly the best on the websites and, certain things that were located on there just didn't apply to this particular plan. So I think the best way of doing it is I planned on letting Ken and Rusty explain this plan just in layman's terms, how can it be? How can we be going down in price but up in benefit or the same benefits, at least retaining benefits? Because people, on the face of it, it makes you hesitate, just how can that be? So I think that needs to be explained and just the emergence of these plans. And I think what in my discussions with these two gentlemen and also Mark, how maybe the future of a lot of municipal plans in Massachusetts may start going in this direction. So and why that is. Some of this stuff gets very wonky, but I think it would help to just take a few minutes and listen to their explanation of how this all came about and what it is. So with that.
Do you want to put up the spreadsheet that shows the 5 plans?
Sure, the Excel.
Thank you, Brian, for pretty detailed explanation, and you've been paying attention to all the meetings we were in, that's for sure. Good joke.
Can you hear him, Terry? Yes? Okay, yeah, if you can.
We're going to we're gonna put up a slide that shows all of the town retiree plans that are available today to the membership. And then we'll kind of work backwards from there. This gives everyone sort of a 30,000-foot level of where we are today, what was considered, and then what the recommendation was. Okay. You just shrink that a little bit to grab that, the financials at the bottom. Okay, that should do. The health insurance plans here in town, for a number of years, whether they were the active employee plans or the retirees, were provided by multiple insurance carriers. And for various market reasons over the last several years, carriers exiting the marketplace, consolidation, economies of scales, what the town had done is consolidated the multiple plans for the active employees, for instance, and have created some savings for the employees and kept benefits robust and have not created any network disruptions. That's on the active employee plans. So most of the plans that were offered under the retiree plans were sort of offshoots of the active employee plans over the years. And that's the reason why we have Fallon and Blue Cross and Tufts as options for all of the seniors. It made sense to consider these plans at a time when members were leaving those active employee plans with those carriers and continuing that same level of coverage and provider network with these retiree plans. But these have all changed over time as well. As an example, the Fallon Senior Plan, which is a Medicare HMO, has some limitations with some of the group practices here in central Massachusetts. If you're in that plan or you're joining that plan, you can't use certain providers in the UMass group healthcare system. And likewise, the Tufts plan works similar. There's some limitations as well. That was the reason for the larger plan options, the Blue Cross Blue Shield Medics, which was a Medicare supplement, no restrictions for access of care. The Tufts Medicare supplement, no restrictions to access of care. But as you can see from the price points, they're getting very expensive. Because of the nature of the way they're arranged, the way they're underwritten, and the way they're priced, they're quickly becoming very expensive. So the market is now looking at, as Brian had mentioned, this new program called a Medicare Advantage PPO program. So this is newer to the marketplace, not brand new. It's been around for a while, about 4 or 5 years. But it's newer sort of as we've been looking at options for the retirees. What we've uncovered with this plan is that by the town joining this program, replacing all of these 5 plans with the Advantage, Medicare Advantage plan from Aetna, this is through a sponsoring organization called the Mass Strategic Health Group. So in effect, the retirees would be getting their health care through a consortium. Again, another way to drive economies of scale. Where the price point is now much more manageable and pretty much guarantees everyone a reduction in cost and premium contributions for the next year. And there are price point guarantees over the next several years as well. So there's a lot of, if you will, confidence in making this recommendation. More importantly, the benefit structure is identical or improved over the current retiree plans that are offered to the membership today. It does come with a prescription drug program, just like the other plans do. There's no out-of-pocket cost for medical care services that are covered by Medicare, just like the other plans do. Although some of those plans do have cost-sharing features, deductibles, if you will, for hospitalization and co-pays for physician services. In addition, since it's a Medicare Advantage plan, it comes with additional benefits. So these are unique to this program that we've been able to figure out adds additional services to the membership that they weren't able to get completely with all the other plan options. So for those variations, that's why there's a lower price point. Right about now, I think there's about 6,000 Massachusetts retirees in this healthcare plan. And there's a number of communities in central Massachusetts that use this plan. We did survey them. We actually had representatives from some of those plans speak to our retirees during informational meetings to make sure that they could explain how their experiences were with the plan and to see if there were any issues to be concerned with. The one point we want to make about this plan is the confusion, if you will, if there was any during the presentation, came with the fact that it's determined or it's kind of known that when it's a Medicare Advantage plan, the world looks at that as a regular HMO style plan. But Brian was correct. This is not an individual Medicare plan offered through the healthcare exchanges in Massachusetts or directly sold by insurance companies. This is a group retiree health insurance plan provided by Aetna which, as you know, is owned by CVS Caremark, which is one of the largest corporations in the country. And CVS Caremark is the pharmacy program provider. So therefore, there's economies of scale because the business owner is providing a cost-effective prescription drug formulary program for our seniors. So there's a number of reasons that justify why this price point is relevant to where we want to be. It's the one opportunity where we can bring all of the retirees under one plan. Some of the retirees save a significant amount of premium annually. We don't want to ignore that. That's not the only cost retirees have. Every year, they also have to pay Medicare Part B premium, either reduced from Social Security or paid quarterly to Medicare, and that's going up to $175 a month. It's currently at about $165. So we felt it was the town's, well, we felt the town should be sensitive to all of the cost issues that memberships would see going forward. So in keeping with the consolidation of carrier plans, which have proved beneficial for the active employees, we're taking that same tact and strategic approach for this program as well as of January 1st of 2024.
Just one thing I'd add too is an important component of the program is a retiree concierge service that comes along with this Mass Strategic Health Group Aetna program. So this is a third party that would be engaged to provide retirees with information. They would call a toll-free number, a live person would answer the phone. They would have that individual assigned to their case or their inquiry through completion. So it's one call to a dedicated representative who would work with them. Questions could range from, I have questions about my Medicare Part A and B. I have questions about the provider network and providers. I have questions about accessing care. Those individuals can help navigate that. So it helps not only the retiree with a point of contact that they can feel confident in, but it also helps from an administrative standpoint with the town and taking some of that burden off of the town employees as well.
Okay.
Questions?
Couple questions. So I understand how you get better premiums on a group plan versus the individual plan. So is this a group plan with all the other communities that are part of the strategic health group, or is it just with the town, Southborough?
Yep.
It's a customized benefit plan for the town, but it's within that joint purchasing consortium. So each town or entity can have a different schedule of benefits. For example, prescription drug copays or office visit copays can differ.
But the underwriting, the premiums are based on the purchase power of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and Andrew, great point, because what we are afforded is as we increase enrollment globally in Massachusetts, if we reach additional enrollment counts, we'll actually see a decrease in premium. So as it gets bigger, we may see reductions.
Because I think, some of the more skeptical questions I've heard for this is it seems too good to be true that you could see any doctor you want anywhere in the country. There's no copays. The premium is less. I think the answer to that, it's just group purchasing power, but.
And Aetna is a nationwide company, whereas Fallon, Tufts, et cetera, are here.
Local, yeah.
Yeah.
I might add that skeptical is obviously one of the things we always think about too, looking at these options. What we've seen in the marketplace is the development of that exact same style plan, Medicare Advantage PPO, with some of these other carriers with similar price points, not necessarily right down to the $300 level, but because we see a marketplace that's trying to, be competitive, that suggests to us that it's a market that the carriers want to be.
And like what kind of legal entity, if any, is the Massachusetts Strategic Health Group? I just quickly looked, if you Google them, you go to their website, has something about .32 Health. And I think that's the parent company now of Tufts. So is it that?
Sure.
The
So
Strategic Health Group, they have a partnership with Aetna, or they
no,
are
it's
part of
A
it?
contract with Aetna.
it's a
Yeah.
great question. So the Strategic Health Group is formed under Section 32B of Chapter
Okay.
32B in
All right.
Section 12, which identifies that a group of communities can band together for purchase of health insurance.
All right.
And so we've actually kind of done that with the
Oh,
town.
the
of
active, is that the
North
same for the active?
Yes.
Okay.
So this style plan comes with obviously the arrangement of a number of communities, Northbridge, Oxford, Grafton, Franklin.
Mendon Upton
Mendon
Regional
Upton. There's
Schools.
quite a few other communities, City of Fall River. There's a number of other communities that are involved in this program.
Thanks. I guess I'm gonna now open up to some other questions. Marguerite, do you have any questions?
I had a couple, yes. What I've been hearing from retirees is concern about continuity of care with their doctors. Obviously, that's very, 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 very important. I look at this and I think, how is Aetna making any money on this? This is like when you get cable and they give it to you for almost nothing for the first year and a half, and then suddenly is every other carrier going to be driven out of existence? I mean, it seems like it's a familiar kind of, I mean, I'm not saying I'm for it or against, I'm saying it's a familiar sort of lost leader kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
What's the backstory on this?
So
I
we'll,
mean,
we'll suggest to you that, and I mentioned the whole pharmacy program, so.
Yeah.
All of these plans come with a Medicare Part D prescription drug program. And the way the government provides reimbursements to carriers that provide that benefit is to give those carriers usually credits for providing these Medicare plans, usually as much as $600 or $700 per participant per year. So it's likely that that amount of money is going to offset some of the costs that the membership is paying, because Medicare is giving that to Aetna. So Aetna is getting paid from the government and is getting paid from the town of Southborough and from the retirees. So the sum of all those pieces is how they're able to keep that price point at the level where it is.
so they're being subsidized
Oh, sure, yeah. Medicare provides a subsidy for a prescription drug plan.
because Medicare figures ultimately this will be less expensive than
Yes.
going with 5 different
Yeah,
types.
the group practices that participate in these programs all have certain metrics to meet under Medicare.
Mhm.
And usually based on their star rating, 4 or 5 stars, if you will, they're eligible for reimbursements annually. I was aware that at one point, I think Fallon was, don't quote me on this, but getting as much as $1,000 a year per participant in its Fallon Senior Plan. I'm not sure if that's still the case or not, but that's the incentive for them to provide these plans efficiently through Medicare. So Medicare, like every other health plan, they have to meet metrics. But the size of this plan in this unique location suggests that that's probably a reasonable number. I think the prescription drug cost is a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. My other question was, I called a provider in Boston today to ask, I called their billing office if it was, that they had 3 Aetnas that they didn't take, but I wasn't quite sure about which specific name I should have given to them. And I think I'm probably not alone. I mean, I just was calling to discover how easy it would be to find out if you had a crucial condition that needed continuity. How could you find out whether your specialist was in the plan? And I'm still not sure. I tried calling concierge, but it was too late at night.
Well, there are provider lookup links that can be provided, and we will do that if we're moving forward. And also this is a Aetna group Medicare Advantage plan. So the distinction needs to be made from an individual Medicare Advantage plan. So sometimes there's confusion there, but essentially it really comes down to, and this is where Retiree First can also help as well, is just orienting the physician's office around the fact that it's just a very simple billing process to bill Aetna. So if they're a Medicare accepting provider, they can contract and bill Aetna for the service. So from that provider standpoint, if someone on one of these current plans is seeing a Medicare provider, there's no reason why they should not be able to continue to see that same provider.
And thank you for that. I mean, I realize health insurance is
Complicated.
yeah, it's big for everyone, especially as you get older, you want to make sure that you can see who you want to see. If this turns out that it doesn't work out after a year, can we get out of it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
think
don't have an long-term obligation. We certainly can go back to the marketplace if needed. We can tell you that all the existing clients have not had
Have not
any
had a
issues at
problem.
all.
I understand, yeah, but if
But
it,
to answer your question, yes.
yeah, so do you have to write that into the contract or would it just be there?
It's a annual renewal, so.
Yeah.
All right.
not
So,
necessary.
because that might be,
The contract we signed would be
Important to know.
1/1 to 12/31/24.
all right, thank you.
Kathy?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So I just want to expand on Marguerite's question about the doctors she called today. If remember the second information session, the woman that was there from Aetna clearly said that as long as a doctor takes Medicare, right? You're golden, and 99% of doctors take Medicare. So there should be no issue with someone not having their favorite doctor be part of this program. The concept of in-network, out-network goes away with this. Forget the fact that the doctor might not be the network. That's their problem. They'll do a different set of paperwork. But no, to me, this is the big advantage. That's why I think we need to repeat this, is that a lot of retirees move. And so with this plan, it doesn't matter where you live. There is no more in-network, out-of-network. You're fine, no matter where you are, as long as you've got a Medicare accepting doctor. So that to me is a big improvement with this plan. So yes, we're going to save quite a bit of money, but to me, that is a big improvement plan. A couple of specific questions. The memo that we got today or recently implied that Retiree First is contract, it's part of Aetna. I would think it's contract. I would think it's totally separate from Aetna. They have contracts with MS.
just for clarity, that's the concierge service.
Yeah, yeah.
I spoke on that. Their contract with MSA.
Right, which makes sense to me. So they're independent, so they're not part of Aetna. They're not on Aetna's side. And so they're going to try to give you good concrete help when you call and need help, right? And that's, to me, the second advantage. You didn't have that before. So you've got someone to pick up the phone, if you've got an issue with a drug, whatever, to do that. The third thing is, can you describe what's in the, I believe it's called silver what? Silver sneakers. What does silver sneakers allow you to do?
Fitness program that retirees can join and have incentives paid for participating in various activities.
And did they have that in all 5 programs before?
No.
Okay, so this is new too, where they can actually start, I'm doing this.
Fallon,
So,
yeah, Fallon may have had it.
okay, but the other 4 didn't. Okay. Right, so one more point to everybody. Yes, we can terminate this after a year, but the guarantee that we've got from Aetna is that we already know what the max increase in cost for 25. So we know what the rate is for 24. That's what we've got in front of us, 1/1/24. But they've also said this is what the rate's going to be, 1/1/25, no more than a $10 increase, which is 3%, which is a pretty good increase if you have looked at what medical insurance costs have been the last few
And the
years.
renewals here and on the screen for 1/24 range from a rate hold to 5%. So yeah, 5% is typically what we've seen. Some
That says
even
rate
higher.
cap includes no more than $10.
Right, so I'm just taking the 10 over 300, saying that's 3%.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's where I got my 3%. So that's pretty good too. And, they've been doing this group has been in place for about 5 years, Marguerite. So they've got 5 years worth of experience. They're already telling you what the rate's going to be for the next year. So they've got to have some confidence they've got the rates right as far as being able to provide the service and still make some money off this. So,
Okay, Sam?
Thanks. As you folks, I think, know, this is the 3rd time I've seen this presentation, so I think I got a pretty good understanding of what the proposal is. I spent the last 20 years of my day job in the healthcare business, so I think I've got a pretty good understanding of what's going on in this part of the world. Not to pick nits on it, but I think this is a good deal for the town. I think it's an even better deal for the retirees. There is certainly always a concern about change, and that the unknown is sometimes anxiety producing, certainly. But it seems to me that overall, this is a real plus for everybody. And I'm comforted by the fact that the concierge support that you talk about provides a mechanism for people to get answers to questions on an individual basis. And the feedback I heard from the towns that had representatives at the sessions was that works effectively in terms of dealing with any inconsistencies, discontinuities, et cetera. So I have great confidence that this will turn out to be a great program for everyone. And again, as Marguerite asked, if it somehow doesn't turn out that way, we have an option to rethink it after a year here. So I'm solidly supportive of this. Thank you.
Al?
As long as employees can continue to see a specialist that they're seeing under one of these other programs, then I'm okay. But as you know, that was the concern that was expressed to me as well. So, as long as you've got continuity of care, if the doctors who you may see for some unusual, we have, some of the world's best doctors in the Commonwealth, and once in a while, unfortunately, people need those folks. And as long as that is still available to the retirees, I'm okay.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to open up for any questions or comments from the public. If you could, just go to the stand over there. Thank you. And, introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. My name is Paul Pasinski. I am the retired Public Health Director for the Board of Health in Southborough. I worked for the town about approximately 25 years and retired several years ago. I'm not going to repeat a lot of what has already been said at some of the information meetings that I've attended. I've attended 2 of them and listened tonight. To me, it sounds like a fantastic deal. I'm all in favor of it. And that's just me. When I worked for the Board of Health, my background was really more in waste management, sanitation control, things of that kind, water pollution, all that sort of thing. We left a lot of the so-called medical issues, vaccines and all that sort of thing, communicable diseases to the part-time public health nurse. They have a lot more in the way of complementary medical professionals now for the Board of Health. But so my expertise is really not in the medical, other than the fact that I like a lot of the things I saw already with this particular program. The town and the Board of Selectmen vote to enter into it. Was mentioned, Kathy mentioned, asked about silver sneakers. Many years ago, I personally, my wife and I joined the YMCA. I think we paid $1,400 a year for the benefits of going there, using their fitness equipment, treadmills, those sort of things, because we don't have those at home. Because I wasn't in the particular Fallon program, I was not eligible for any of that. So that's the other thing is when they mentioned the concierge, it sounded to me like a fantastic addition. I know there's different types of concierge for different health plans. I happen to have a relative who paid many thousands of dollars for that particular add-on to his insurance, because it does cover some of the medical issues. But to me, that's looks like a very definite plus. So that's all I have to say, unless anybody has any questions of me personally, what little knowledge I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? Actually, when do you go next? Thank you. Go right ahead.
It's very difficult to get a lot of information online. As it was stated, it's not online. I was wondering when the town is going to receive a packet so that we that are involved in this will have access to all of that information before. Well, we don't have a choice, so soon, I hope. The other thing I'd like to ask, did any of you run the numbers as far as each member in each of the existing plans? What the plan costs the individual and what the plan costs the town? I did. You want a copy?
When you're saying like for actual experience about what you would have in terms of co-pays and deductibles, or?
What I'm saying, town pays free plan will be retiree plan.
So do we know the answer to when the packet's going to go out?
If we move forward, Aetna will provide a summary of benefits, schedule of benefits. We'll also set up an informational breakfast or some sort of gathering with all the retirees who are interested in attending that will be hosted at a central location to answer questions and make sure they have all the information they need as we prepare for January 1. That would be probably in the November timeframe. We do that.
Okay.
The next question I have for the board. The active members today, they have one health plan, but they have three choices within that plan. Are you suggesting they're going to be all turned into an Aetna one plan choice as well?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, this is a Medicare plan, so obviously they're not on Medicare, so I don't know if there is a comparable plan for actives or not. We already took the step of joining the group a couple years ago with Northborough and Algonquin to try to spread the cost out a larger group. So we did that already. So I don't know of any desire right now to go any further, but you guys would know better.
So
than I
I'll,
do.
I'll offer a comment. The town can't restrict the membership on the active employees to just one plan. It would offer a PPO plan, which is required under the state statute, and indemnity style plan. But you've also adopted options where you can also offer an HMO plan. So we have to offer two. So we will never be in a position where we just have one healthcare plan option for the membership.
All right, the reason I asked that question, the individuals in this room have worked for this community probably 35 years and more. I'm the spouse of someone that worked for this community for 47 years. And during that period, we always had multiple options. I think when the individual retired, they assumed the town was still going to provide those options, which we also paid a higher premium by choice. That choice is being taken away. And we don't have the information. And we've only met twice on this. And the committee, or the individuals on the committee, has met since the spring. And I think they had a total of 5 meetings. So I don't know how you can make a decision with the lack of information as far as a pamphlet or brochure that your retirees, as of today, they don't even have. It's premature.
I don't agree with you, Bonnie. I think that we have spent a lot of time looking at this. Several on here are, well, 4 out of 5 here are Medicare eligible on select board. So it's not like we're not familiar with Medicare. For a living, I actually advise people on this. Mr. Cybers explained what he does. We've gone to the meetings. I've looked at it very closely. I think this is a win-win for the town. It's not just the money. I know you said that to me at one of the recent meetings, and I believe there's been 3 information sessions, not 2. And there's going to be another one when they hand out the packet. But this seems to me to be a better plan, and one that's going to save everybody money, retirees more than the town. We've got 170 people on the retiree plan right now. So this is going to save each person over $1,000 a year. We're trying to keep taxes down in this town. And this is another way to help people economically. So I think that we have looked at this very closely. I don't think this is premature. I think a lot of time has been spent to vet this and come up with a plan that improves things. I mean, to be able to say there's no network anymore, to add the silver sneakers program, to add the concierge, I think those are substantive changes to what we have right now. So I think this is a much better program than what we have now. And the fact that it's 1 instead of 5, there's many, many other towns besides the ones that are in this plan that are doing the same thing because of the increase in cost of health insurance. When you've got a bigger group, you've got more people to spread cost over. We've only got 170 people on our plan spread among 5 plans. So we have no buying power whatsoever with what we've got right now. So I respectfully disagree that we have not spent the time and that this is premature.
Well, I spent over 15 years sitting where you are, and I think
I
I've
know you
spent a
did.
lot more time at it. As far as the retiree health plan, Brian's provided me a lot of information. I'm very grateful. I asked him how many employees, active employees there were. I gave you the information. There's 256 in 2024. And the retirees in 2024 were 226. I'd like to know why that number is only 168, 189. The regional school office, the administrative office, can pick from South Rose plan or North Rose. Is the difference the regional district's office?
I'm not sure what she's asking.
There's a discrepancy in the numbers on the plan.
So
Oh,
224 retirees versus 189 on the.
yeah, we think the difference is the retirees that are on the active plans.
Yeah, they're
that
not
aren't
Medicare
on the-
eligible.
Because some retirees have to be on the active plans, they don't qualify for Medicare. So That's probably.
Because they're not 65 yet.
Yeah.
The-
Okay.
or they didn't have enough quarters, Kathy, to qualify for free Medicare.
Right.
Possible.
Right. Yeah. I would like to have,
Oh, but the regional office can participate in this. Any employee in the district can participate in South First Choice. They have in the past. Between the two towns,
For retirement.
okay. There-
retirees.
I believe central office. employees
Yes.
would be able to- Yes.
So-
So the regional in Northborough, I know it since it's brought up, they're actually looking at this too, and they're behind us because they didn't. For a number of reasons. They had other fish to fry that were, distracted them, but they are on schedule to possibly implementing this July 1 of 24.
Exactly.
So, yeah, if the rollout, if everyone does what we may do, so I just want to mention that.
The
All right.
very last question.
Thank you.
If we opt out of this, we accept it, town accepts it, we're enrolled in it, and we opt out of it. The only other option we have, if the town doesn't have a second choice, is to go into a public Medicare plan. Correct? If there's not a choice, because we're not satisfied, we don't have another option for the town. Retirees. Correct?
You're talking about for, if after a year or
Yeah,
two, people
No,
didn't like
it's-
it?
They don't want this. They opt out. They want to stay with their traditional Medicare and their Medigap plan. So yes, they could do that and
That's
they'd have to
absolutely
pay
correct.
for the
Yeah.
Medigap themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody's going to still do the Part B.
What
That's
is the process? How long does it take to get back into an outside?
So then joining the group plan here would come at next year's
Next
open
open
enrollment.
enrollment, yeah.
Okay. All right, and then you had a comment, and then I think there's one person in the audience,
two,
two, okay,
maybe one right there.
Yeah, two,
two,
two.
okay. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Penny Morse. I'm a retired teacher. And as you called to find out whether this insurance was accepted, I have over the course of the time that I've learned about this, checked with 4 specialists in person and 2 primary care doctors, both mine and my husband's. And I knew the plan. I showed them all the paperwork. And every single one of them told me they do not accept this insurance. They did tell me that because I'm an existing patient, they would take it for me. And then my concern becomes, as we age, we're all getting into medical crises and needing a whole slew of specialists. And what happens if I need now a specialist that I don't have a relationship with? Just because the doctor accepts Medicare doesn't mean they will accept this insurance. It's optional for them. And I have great concerns about not being able to get care. It's hard enough to try and get an appointment with the doctor as it is, let alone throw in an insurance plan that they say they're not going to take. And now you're trying to fight with all of these things and not what you need when you're in a crisis. The other thing is you were talking about star ratings, and I agree, there's very little online. However, what I did see because there are other states that have groups in a group Aetna plan, and the star rating was like 3.2 to 3.9, which is not very good. And the reviews were pretty condemning. People weren't real happy. They seem to have a high refusal rate. And I asked 2 of my doctors why they didn't take this plan. And one of them said, well, we used to, but everything keeps changing around with them and you're constantly bickering and fighting over what's covered and what isn't. So we just didn't want to work with them anymore. And the other doctor told me that when he was recommending things and they wanted prior authorization, They were very, very difficult to work with. So, if this is adopted and this is my only choice, I'm going to go to Tufts and I will pay out of pocket for the premium for the same program that we have now, the HMO Prime RX. And I really do hope that you will consider the kind of turmoil that as a family we're all going through. At this point in our lives, our health is a little bit more important than saving a few bucks.
Do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Couple of points that were made. We still run into the issue of folks and group practices not understanding this is a group plan versus an individual Aetna plan that's sold on the marketplace. So that's the reason why Retiree First stands in between the town and the employee and the retiree and the provider. We have yet to have any provider not accept this plan and not bill under the Medicare side of the provision that the plan has. So that's the reason why we're confident that we're not going to run into an issue with a network provider, regardless who the members are using. The current plans today, the plans that are network-based have restrictions on provider access. The Medicare supplements, still the two Medicare supplements, they also have prior authorization. They also have referrals on certain things. So for that reason, I don't think there's a huge disruption with what we're doing with the Medicare Advantage plan through the Aetna program. In all of the meetings we had coming up to making the recommendation, for those folks who had asked us to reach out to certain providers, we did all that. And all the providers that initially said they didn't accept it were how it was explained, and they ultimately did say it was fine. So we have not run into that issue yet. So at this point, I think we're confident that we're not going to run into any network issues or specialist issues. Now, the one thing I will always make a point about in health insurance is whenever you're seeking specialist care, it's not always necessarily easy to go see a specialist. Sometimes they do require a primary care physician, give information to the specialist. Sometimes the PCP's referral circle doesn't include certain specialists. That's not the health plan. That would be that business practice that might be stuck in that sort of business environment. But we have not seen any of these issues yet with all the other things that we've been talking about.
Thank you. Ryan, I was confused why you wanted to speak to this. I think you can
Okay,
explain
so
this.
my name is Ryan Donovan. I'm the library director, but tonight I'm here as one of the representatives from the Insurance Advisor Committee, which is a group that I sit on. So I just wanted to note, I think Ken and Rusty would tell you that maybe I've given them a harder time than some of the retirees on this. But one of the things I think that's big to note is on the existing plans, we're looking at increases that are about 7 to 8%. There was a concern from the IAC that this would price people out of health insurance, which I think is an important note to consider tonight. The other thing I'd like to just mention is that the IAC is going to continue talking about this, and we agreed to look at how the plan was working in 6 months and then provide a revised recommendation so that we could take a look at the plan, how the plan was working prior to the enrollment period, which we think, because this is new, it was very important to consider. So we can't make a change until a year later after we opt in, but we're going to kind of be looking at this halfway through just to see how it's working.
Okay.
So that was all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. There's been 2 hands up in the online audience. I'd like to get to those because they were up first, and then I get to you. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. All right. Let's see. So Diane Georgia. Oh, okay. Can you bring over Kathy Guilford? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, could you just introduce yourself briefly, and we're now
Yes.
you're on.
I'm Kathy Guilford, and I'm here with my mother, Mary Guilford. And we just had a quick question. So if after a year and we finds out that this program isn't really working out well, what other options would there be? And would going back to a Medicare supplement be available?
Yeah, I can answer that question, Kathy. Yeah, all of the plan options that you see before you, I'm not sure we would ask or recommend that all 5 be continued. For instance, the Blue Cross Blue Shield MedX2, which is a Medicare supplement, and then the Managed Blue for Seniors, which is a Medicare Advantage plan, could probably do the same job that all 5 do today. You know, when we started with all of these options, these costs weren't this dramatic. But now that they are increasing, it's becoming economically challenging. But we certainly can look at multiple options if in fact this doesn't work out the way we believe it will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then Diane, Georgia.
Hi. Thanks for getting me in here. I live out of state as a retiree, and Medicare was new to me this past July. A couple of quick questions for you, and I appreciate all the effort and time you've taken looking into these different options. Why wasn't a supplement plan considered as part of this? Does Aetna have a supplement plan?
Yeah, so we did check on multiple options, but the price point that we were afforded for this, the Advantage plan was would not be replicated, Diane. So it was we thought it was in everyone's best interest just to stick with this one plan since it does cover all Medicare providers. So it actually does act like a supplement anyways. So for that reason, since it does double duty, we didn't think it was necessary to have multiple options.
I think my concern was with regard to, I think someone previously said that supplement plans require a prior authorization. I have not found that to be the case while I've been on here. However, I think with most Advantage plans, and correct me if I'm wrong, for seeing some people, you know, if your doctor decides one thing, if you want to go and see a specialist or there's a treatment plan with an Advantage plan, you have to go through another level of someone giving authorization, as opposed to, I have not found that to be the case at all with the supplement plan that I'm currently on. And again, as I said, I'm out of state, so I haven't been able to attend any of these things. I have submitted questions, but this is one that I think is most concerning for me.
So the reason why we have this concierge service is to handle any of those types of issues, Diane, if they do come up and you do run into an issue with a provider. So that's their job to help you navigate through the healthcare system. So more often than not, they're going to suggest a direction of care that might be consistent with the treatment you're undergoing today, or they may actually enhance it. So I don't think you'll find that as burdensome. I think you'll find it as an advantage to the process. Otherwise, you're kind of left on your own devices to operate through the plans. But we haven't seen that as an issue with the other groups that we've been working with.
In terms of getting I guess my biggest concern is that it requires prior authorization, as opposed to, I have not found that to be the case with my current one, which is the Blue Cross Blue Shield MedX2.
There may be certain things within Blue Cross Blue Shield. I think when I've read through their handbook, there may be some things under the MedX2, maybe you haven't encountered them today, that still may require prior authorization, not second surgical opinion, but definitely some prior authorization. So I'm not sure I'm completely in agreement that it's just open-ended and you go wherever you want, whenever you want. I don't think that's the case.
Well, we can agree to disagree on that one.
Okay, no problem.
And with regard to that, so if we're all moved over to an Advantage plan, which takes us off of the traditional Medicare and supplement plan, should you find that you or want to go back to implementing a supplement plan, would people have to go through underwriting?
No, so the senior plans don't have the same level of, well, I think you're talking about individual medical underwriting?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Group plans don't allow individual medical underwriting.
Okay, so that if you switch back from this Advantage plan, you go to, finding options with a supplement plan through the town, you wouldn't have to go through underwriting.
No, there's no pre-existing conditions, limitations. There's no restriction of care, none of that stuff.
Okay, and then, as you said, everything is covered. I'm out of state. I won't have a problem with all my care out of
So
state.
long as the provider is Medicare approved, then there won't be an issue.
Okay, well, I appreciate you answering all my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And do you have a comment? Okay, thank you.
Sarah Hamel. I've been retired from the town for approximately 12 years now. I needed clarification on the sense that, the town, entire town doesn't go for the program. I didn't understand where the retirees are separate from the rest of the employees of the town. I needed clarification on it.
Yeah, well, I'll take a quick step on this. I mean, I think it's that for generally speaking, the retiree population tends to be Medicare eligible, and there's this, you have different plans, so there's a coordination of, you get the benefit of the Medicare coverage, you have all the Medicare taxes you paid over many, many years, and as these gentlemen were explaining, you know, the money goes to the federal government, makes its way back to the carrier, and it's the combination of CMS, the federal government, the individual beneficiary paying the copay, and then the town paying the other half of the insurance premium that totally combines that. So that's, and I think they're also saying that for one difference is that for the active town employee population, that there's a statute, there's a Massachusetts law that says you have to have a pure indemnity plan in addition to I don't know what would be like a managed care plan, a HMO/PPO. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does, but.
Okay.
The other thing would be is, where the retiree stated that she had a conflict as far as coverage with, I'm assuming her physicians or they wouldn't accept the plan. If, Aetna plan, would Aetna go to bat?
Well, I think retiree first, concierge service.
Our experience is that concierge can really help in that scenario where they can outreach to the provider's office and work with them to answer any questions that they have, and to the claims procedure, orient them to the procedure in order to bill Aetna for the service. So it should not be an issue that the retiree needs to work through, but with assistance from the concierge at Retiree First, they should be able to help your situation and make sure that all questions are answered and that you're able to move forward with that provider.
So if you wanted to continue with that physician that didn't agree with the plan or accept the plan, would it be out of pocket and then the battle would go on?
No, I don't think so. I think with Retiree First help, I think you would be able to have your care continue with that provider.
Okay, all right. I think that's all.
Okay. So, yes, so Al, before I get to you, I think we've got
one more.
Yeah, I'm just looking for an opportunity to kind of, we don't want to have, do you have something to say that's not all that?
Yeah.
Okay, come on up.
Foster. The research that I did says that Aetna is generally known for very broad, low-cost programs, but they're also known for poor customer service and extremely slow processing. Consumer affairs in Medicare star ratings are 2.5 out of 5, which are poor. When I first mentioned that, the town's looking at Aetna with all these benefits, I mentioned it to a friend who's a retired social worker, and she's like, oh God, Aetna. She said, they take forever to pay, they're difficult to work with. The reality is doctors' offices don't want to work, whatever concierge service or whatever. They don't want to work with providers that are difficult and they have to jump through hoops and back to get paid. And I'm concerned that the board's gonna approve this for a savings of $60,000. All of our choices are gonna be taken away. And that's my comment.
Thank you.
I think those star ratings refer to the individual market products that Aetna has. We've been told from our representatives at Aetna that they've maintained their high star rating on the group Medicare Advantage plan.
Kathy, okay, Al, do you want to, so I think we're at a point where we've had a robust discussion and maybe we'll come back to the board to see how the board feels about this.
Yeah, so the first question I have is, if we adopt this plan, can the retirees take advantage of the concierge services immediately so that they can arrange for continuity of care before?
Yes, we would, if we get approval to move forward, we'll be looking to schedule a retiree meeting probably in the November timeframe to make sure that if
No,
there are
I'm not,
any-
that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, so, all right.
It would
We-
be a meeting with the retiree first representatives to provide information on the plan and then also to work directly with retirees if there's a pending hospitalization or if there's a procedure that's going to be taking place to help work with them.
Or simply, my doctor doesn't like Aetna, because, you know, the first time I heard the word Aetna, the same comments that the young lady in the back had, I did hear about, and I've been giving you guys the benefit of the doubt. But I want to make sure that prior to 1/1, the retirees have the ability to contact the concierge and to make sure that the skids are greased so that 1/1, you know, they're not, oh my God, you know, it's, you know, we have an obligation to these folks.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure, so what you're telling me is at this meeting, they can begin to arrange it and that we will not hear a single peep. I'm talking to you guys right now, a single peep that, you know, my doctor isn't covered, because I would look very dimly on that. And I would look,
Yeah, I think we want to make one more comment about some of the providers or most of the providers that folks use do have a contract with Aetna. So they won't be raising the issue of, do I accept it? You know, we've heard a few folks that don't, but those doctors accept Medicare. Because they couldn't be using them today if they didn't accept Medicare. So the premise is they're going to continue to use those same.
I'm not
providers.
interested in premises. I'm
So
interested
the
in,
point is,
I
they're
don't
gonna
want to
use
hear
the same,
complaints.
they're using the same providers today. They're gonna be able to use the same providers going forward. We'll just simply tell them to bill Aetna under the Medicare portion of the Medicare Advantage plan, because those providers accept Medicare.
So you're
That's
telling me
the
that these
distinction.
folks are not going to have a problem?
We haven't seen one yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm holding you to it
Understood.
because
Yeah.
I'll be really grumpy if, you know,
Wouldn't expect anything less.
All right.
don't worry, I'm very good at it.
So
Yeah.
Very good at being.
we think we're prepared to start discussing based on the feedback we've had and
Yes.
Yes.
go ahead. What did you say? Sure.
Sorry, are we going?
I've been just kind of varying up the order, but if you want to start off, that's fine.
Oh, let's go for it.
Okay, Kathy, do you want to?
So I tell you, one of the things that influenced me greatly on this was the people who came through on the Zoom at the meeting at the Public Safety Building that have had this plan for a while. There was a guy from Fall River, and these were people who were part of the decision-making process. I forget what their titles were, but this was somebody who, you know, I don't know what they were, but they were part of the group that made the decision, and they were all uniformly extremely happy with this specific plan. So they're talking about the plan we're talking about, not another plan that is not the same thing. I believe that Leslie Chamberlain, our nurse for the senior center, actually made her own phone call to one of the towns too and got the same answer. They love it. They think it's great. Very few issues. It probably won't be perfect, Al, but you know, the current plans aren't perfect either. But these guys all were very happy with the decision, are absolutely going to renew, have been in it for a few years and encouraged us to do the same thing. So that had a lot of weight with me too, as far as what they had to say.
Yep.
So I still think that this is a very good overall decision. Town's going to save $90,000 a year, employees almost $200,000 a year. They've got a bigger plan. They don't worry about being in network, out of network. They've got the fitness program and they've got the concierge.
So I think Brian and the Insurance Advisory Committee have done a good job here in that. One thing is we don't want to do is just have the town just do the same thing over and over again, have the same carriers just for the sake of, well, we've done it before, and I think you should be applauded for looking at things that can provide a better level of coverage at a lower price point. And looks like here we're going to be somewhat of an early adopter. There are definitely, I mean, one of the things that makes me in favor of it is that there's other comparable communities that have done this, and there's not a time commitment, or if we do this for a year or 2 years and there's been a negative experience, we can do something else. But I don't want to, sometimes I don't want you guys to feel penalized for, thinking of something different that I think looks like it's going to provide a better level of coverage at a lower cost point. Just because there's been a lot of, understandable, detailed questions about it. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this. And Sam?
Yeah, I guess I have I think it was a more practical standard than Mr. Hamilton, in that healthcare is extraordinarily complex. All the carriers out there are large organizations, the big ones, extremely bureaucratic, wide variety of skill levels at every level in there. I've dealt with all of them over the last 20 years. I've had great experiences with each of them. I've had terrible experiences with each of them. Unfortunately, it's hard to predict what you're going to find. But I think I'm comforted here by the fact that the concierge service and the interface between the companies and the retirees is a critical element. I don't believe that it's going to go perfectly. I think there will be some bumps. On the other hand, I think we've got a mechanism to smooth those bumps out. And I think that this is, for me at least, a way to provide better service ultimately for people, and also more economical service for both retirees and for the town. So, and then we've got the safety valve. If it's not working, we can always do something different next year. But all in all, it seems to me this is a significantly positive step, and I strongly support it. Thank you.
Marguerite?
This is just a suggestion. There are 170 people we're talking about. Would it be humanly, as retired, right? Is that the right number? Yeah. Would it be possible to send everybody, make it a refrigerator magnet, make it a card, I don't know what, but something with all the essential phone numbers, like Retire First and who to call and who to call. It seems like if there are basically three different people you can call if you've got a question.
The retirees entry point is really going to be with Retiree First.
Mhm.
So from that standpoint, between now and 1/1,
Right.
Retiree First will be the focus. We'll make sure we have that in the introductory letter that goes out inviting them to the session. But also on the card they receive, they'll receive just one card. I think many retirees have 2 cards right now.
Mhm.
So there will be one card with those various phone and contact numbers on it. So hoping that they won't need to have multiple cards and be managing various contact numbers and touch points. So
Right.
our goal is to have Retiree First be that.
Be that.
full
All right.
contact.
Okay. So just somewhere that it can be right in the kitchen
Yep.
next to the. Exactly. Thank you.
Large print, please.
Large print, yes.
Well, I've got my Retiree First pen here.
Too
So
small.
we'll make sure we have some information there for them.
I think that would be a good thing to have.
No?
Yeah, you guys have made us some promises, and I'm gonna take you at your word, and so I'm going to vote yes. And I want you to work very hard to make sure that there are transitions are always painful and lumpy. And so, I think our employees are gonna our retirees are gonna have to, give a little too in terms of making sure they put the effort into to make the switch. But, you've got to make that switch seamless and painless so that this is a success for everybody.
Okay. So with that, I'll make a motion that the select board adopt the recommendation of the Insurance Advisory Committee for retiree health plan going forward.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Thank you. And
Thank you.
I think there's some really good points stressed here about, try to get, so there'll be a November meeting.
That's what we're looking to do. I mean, we'll
Okay.
try and get on their schedule. We'll get to
Yeah.
work tomorrow on
Okay.
trying to get the logistic together.
Sure, the earlier the better, so that as many people have the opportunity to, get introduced to retiree first and some of the issues you've heard here tonight about making sure that providers will accept this plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, since we're gonna need to kind of clear the room between this meeting and the next meeting, I'll take a 5-minute recess. Does that sound good? Okay, thanks. Okay, the next item on the agenda are committee interviews and appointments, and Caitlin Heisner, did I pronounce your name correctly? Heisner, I'm sorry, please come and introduce yourself, and you're seeking appointment to the Cultural Arts Council for a term to expire 10/10/2025. So if you could just take a moment to introduce yourself. I read the application that you provided. Sounds like you've got some experience in this area. And are you fairly new to Southborough too?
Very new. So first of all, good evening. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Caitlin Heisner. My husband, 18-month-old, and I just relocated within the last 3 weeks to Southborough from San Diego, California. So we're quite new to the town, very much looking forward to getting more involved. But we're not new to Massachusetts. So I studied here in the early 2000s and got a degree in art history, which really sort of started my career in the cultural arts. I spent the first decade of my career really focused on grant making, fundraising, philanthropy in a few different cities, but primarily in Southern California for institutions focused on access to art. And I made the transition from cultural arts focused work into higher education over the last 5 or 6 years. But art and philanthropy have really been a consistent sort of theme to the work that I do. And I was thrilled to see that there's a Cultural Arts Council opening and thought that that would be a great way to get more involved in town and then also apply my expertise. I do have some experience working with the Massachusetts Cultural Arts Council from work at the MFA and MassMoCA previously, and then more recently have worked in a volunteer capacity on the grant committee for San Diego Culture of Arts Board, or the Commission for Arts and Culture Board.
Thank you. Sounds like you have an outstanding set of qualifications. You should definitely be applauded for coming and volunteering for the position after you've only been here for 3 weeks.
Really?
So I don't have any questions. Kathy?
Well, I do I'm interested in, so you took the job at BC when you.
Yes, yeah, that predicated the move.
He was a senior philanthropic advisor.
So I focus on work with our leading trustees and stakeholders, primarily on the West Coast, on philanthropic planning and gifts to the university. So that's, a really sort of vague way of talking about fundraising, but really the focus is working closely with families and households on understanding where their ultimate vision for large philanthropic commitments can be made. Usually they're interdisciplinary gifts involving multiple areas of campus. And we just launched a $3 billion campaign last week.
Billion?
Yes, with a B.
There's always a campaign. Well, that's very interesting. Not to overwhelm you, great that you've applied for this, but we probably have a couple other places we could use your talents too, which we can talk about at a later date. So this is great. So thank you for stepping up for this.
Okay.
Okay.
Sam?
Thank you again for volunteering. To follow on Kathy's point, we also have a Board of Commissioners of Trust Funds that is interested in soliciting donations from wealthy Southborough residents. So we will be following up with you, but you clearly have great qualifications for this. I certainly support your appointment. Thank you.
I don't have any questions for you. Thank you and welcome to Southborough.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome to Southborough. After 3 weeks, I was still living out of boxes, so I'm not sure how you could even conceive of doing this, but you put your name forward and we're going to take advantage of it. So yes, thank you very much for applying.
Thanks so much.
I move that the board appoint Caitlin Heisner to the Cultural Arts Council for a term to expire October 10, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? So you will get an appointment letter either in the mail or by email. And then in order to, have you been in touch with the chair of the Cultural Arts Council?
I don't believe.
Okay, who is that?
Jen Hansen, I believe.
Jen Hansen, okay.
Yes.
She knows that she.
Okay, yep. And then you need to get sworn in by the town clerk or the assistant town clerk downstairs.
Okay.
And then you're official.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. next is Patty Burns Fiore. Hello.
Good evening.
So I think we all know you, but feel free to introduce yourself, reintroduce yourself.
I'm here to talk to you. So you all know me, so you can ask me any questions.
All right, well, I'll just say that I fully support Patty's nomination, and I know you talked in your application about the current work that you're doing with the Framingham Historical Society or
Framingham History Center.
History Center.
Yes.
Yep, okay. So I mean, that's a great Tricentennial Committee is gonna need to just kind of a lot of formulate ideas. So I think that's a great head start on. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. It is a great organization they have there. We have there's over 100 active volunteers and very active boards. So it's a lot of very interesting people. And I'm working with in development.
Great. Kathy?
I'm very happy Patty has done this. I'm all for appointing her.
I echo Kathy's comments. Great that you're volunteering to do this. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And it's a special event, and I think that we've got a good group working on finding ways to celebrate it across many parts of town
Right.
over an extended period of time here. So I look forward to what you're
I
gonna.
was also trying to offer my, background with graphic design and marketing and
Yep,
you know,
yep,
to brand the event and
exactly.
outreach for it.
And again, long-term effort here, but I think it could be a great event for the whole town. So thank you.
I'm glad that you volunteered. I think you'll be great at this. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Ditto that, and I do want to mention that the tomatoes did very well.
Mine did not.
Yeah,
So disappointing.
so what Patty provided us about 50 tomato plants when our first crop failed. And
Thanks to Kathy's recommendation when I was overwhelmed with.
Fortunately, this is not a tomato committee, so.
Yeah, no.
in good shape, so.
Well, I don't know about that. 2 out of 5 are. It could be.
so thank you for volunteering.
I move that the board appoint Patty Burns Fiore to the Tricentennial Committee for a term to expire June 30, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you very much.
So I have to get sworn into that committee too.
Yes.
Okay.
Every time.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. So Steve Valentine has is not here. He has a scheduling conflict with Tuesdays. I know Steve. He's a neighbor of mine. We have had not success so far in appointing we have a designated veteran seat. And he either has served or currently serves in the Coast Guard. And I know for quite some time now, he's been looking for a way to get involved in the committee. This would be his first opportunity volunteering. One interesting thing about him is he's a former police officer for the town of Southborough. So when Vanessa and I were, I had asked Mr. Kalenda, Mr. Wynot, do they have any ideas or recommendations for a veteran to step up? We're drawing blanks, so I'll leave it up to the board. Would you like, I think he has a standing conflict on Tuesdays, but I can see if that's correct. Would you like him to come forward and ask questions for him, or?
I'm fine with your
Okay.
recommendation.
I'm fine too.
Okay. All right, so I move that the board appoint Steve Valentine to the Tricentennial Committee for a term to expire June 30, 2024.
Second.
To be your veteran.
Yes, you have a question? Or you're just gonna vote? Okay,
I was just kidding. I am.
all right,
Warming up.
all right, thanks. Okay.
5-0.
All in
The old fashioned way of voting. Okay, 5-0. And finally, Mr. Mance has been very patient. So here is the background on the composition of the ZBA. Craig Nicholson, who had served on the board for many years. I served with them on the ZBA. Had a great deal of experience He moved out of town within the last month. Therefore had to resign. We then, on our September 29th meeting, we elevated Jamie Meath from the alternate position to the full-time position. So there's currently 5 full-time or full members and 2 alternate positions. And Doug, who I have known, I work with on Shopsy, and has a lot of relevant experience, has volunteered to serve as an alternate on the ZBA. I've spoken to David Williams, the chair of the ZBA. He's spoken to Doug and thinks he'd be a good addition to the ZBA, particularly kind of to fill some of the experience level that Craig Nicholson had. So with that background, would you like to introduce yourself and explain a little bit about who you are and your interest in serving on the ZBA?
Yep, definitely. So good evening, everyone. Thank you. Doug Mans, been a Southborough resident for over 20 years now. Have 3 kids, 2 in college, 1 at home. And my youngest wants, my wife and I get hobby, so he's not the hobby, being the youngest without attention. My background, so I've been on the Shopsy committee for over the last year. So wanted to get more involved in the town, and that was the first step. But my professional background is I've been in real estate development for over 25 years in the greater Boston area. Pretty experienced with permitting processes, both the planning board, the ZBA, Conservation Commission. Very familiar with reviewing packages that come before, we prepared them on the other side. Also familiar with Chapter 40B projects as well too. Previous company, I've done a couple myself with the company too as well. So very familiar with the process. So I love real estate development. I get into the weeds, and something I'm looking forward to trying to help the town out with this alternate position on the ZBA, and happy to answer any questions related to that too as well.
Okay, Kathy?
So thank you, Doug, for stepping up. And thank you, Andrew, for doing the recruiting that you did. So it's my understanding that what's going to happen is that Jamie Meath is going to recuse herself from Park Central.
Correct.
So that you would be the 5th person on that one. So it'd be an odd number instead of an even number 4. So that's great. So I hear rave reviews from Mr. Stivers, from Andrew. So I am very happy that you have agreed to do this. And it sounds like you've really got a lot of relevant experience and understand this and can hit the ground running. So that's what I think we need.
Sam?
Yeah, I, again, don't know you personally, but I've watched you on a number of committee meetings, and I'm impressed with what I've heard in terms of your ability to look at the facts and come up with thoughtful decisions on issues. So I think that's a key element here. I will ask one question that I'm sure somebody will raise at some point here. I assume that you don't expect to have projects from your day job come before the Southborough Zoning Board at this point.
No, we're primarily a Boston-based developer in the city, in urban
Okay.
areas, and would not expect to be in front of a Southborough committee.
Should that happen by any stretch here, I would assume you would recuse.
Recuse myself,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yep, I try to keep my work life and my home life separate.
Sometimes challenging.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. No more questions. Thank you.
Hi, I just had one question. What is your vision for the future of Southborough, and what do you think it should look like in 20 years?
Oh, that's a very easy.
Let's
no.
ask the planning board that one. That's right.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, so my wife and I moved here because it was a smaller town purposely, right? We came here for the great school systems. I think we want it to be a great place to live. That's always what we've been focused on. So my perspective is not looking for great change in the town, looking for, a town that can continue to be what it wants to be type of thing. I do think there's opportunity on Route 9 and other areas for different uses, right? I aspire to things more than self-storage personally, but that's just a personal thing. But I do think our neighborhoods are, we live in our neighborhoods, we want them to be the way they are. And so I think it's a balance, I think there could be some better, more retail offerings, especially on the food and beverage side, but that's more of a personal thing too. But there are some great restaurants here, but I think it's more about a place that we want to live and, we want to be able to go out to eat at, and, go to the parks, and that's really important from our perspective. Yep.
Could you just, and we don't know each other, so could you just tell me a little bit more about what your role in the real estate development process is?
Yeah, so I'm a partner in a real estate development firm in Boston. And so we work on complicated mixed use projects that are primarily in Boston, Cambridge and Somerville. And so I have been directly involved in the development of everything from apartments to condos, life science, office buildings, also as small scale as single family homes, but typically our projects are very urban in nature. And our projects right now in downtown Boston are the redevelopment of the Government Center Garage, which is now known as Bullfrance Crossing, and then also Suffolk Downs, which is in East Boston and Revere, amongst some other projects too. But my career goes back to, I've done projects in Westford, Massachusetts, Bellingham, Dedham, Framingham, other places too as well. So I've worked at all different scales, but currently I'm a partner in a Boston-based development shop.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for volunteering. I'm sure we can make great use of your expertise, and I'm good.
All right. Just a quick anecdote to what you just said about self-storage. One of the last.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to pick any fight.
I know. Let's move it along. I'm just going to.
Painful topic.
Yeah.
One of the last matters I sat on when I was the ZBA was for that new big self-storage facility that's going up by J&J Auto. And I asked the applicant that question. Can't we really do any better than just another self-storage facility? And explained there's ledge there. We don't have very good, we don't have sewer along Route 9. And so there are these, he said the highest and best use there was just really like warehousing. And, there's an increasingly more of a need for warehouse. So I share your desire to have more diversity of uses on Route 9, but as I've learned over the years, there's some structural factors that come into play. I move that the board appoint Doug Mance as an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire June 30, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. And so please do get sworn in as soon as possible. All right, okay.
Quickly.
Tomorrow.
Okay, so that has to happen during business hours, correct?
Yeah.
Well, 8:30, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. I
Yep.
can't thank you enough for stepping up to the plate to help our town.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay. The next item on the agenda is at least what I believe was a public hearing for proposed amendments to the public shade tree policy. So I understand, I just spoke with Mimi. And she believes that when we posted this, we posted the notice of the hearing, but we didn't post the actual regulations that we were going to be discussing. And I'm not sure whether we actually needed to have done that since we did it, I think, at a prior time, but one of the options we could do, Sam, is we could, given the fact we're coming up on 9 o'clock and we've got some other items on the agenda, we could just continue this until the October 24th.
Yeah, I've talked with Ms. Luttrell about one other small change in the draft that is in the packet that I'm fine with, and have not actually talked with Mr. Hamilton, who is part of that subgroup, about it. But I think Ms. Luttrell's concern was the planning board wanted to weigh in on this as well before we voted.
Okay.
So I'm fine with continuing till our next meeting, and maybe I assume the planning board will discuss it soon. Okay.
I'm okay too, as long as we agree we're going to get it done on the 24th and done and put away.
Yes, and then does it make sense for? Okay. Maybe wait until the meeting on Monday, and then you'll have a sense of whether there's going to be additional change, and then.
Yeah.
Can you just work directly with Mark and Vanessa about the red line change that you
Yep.
want to see, and then coordinating the notice and all that?
Yep, and I'll
Okay.
coordinate with Ms. Luttrell as well.
Okay, good. So I move that we continue the public hearing for proposed amendments to the public shade tree policy to October 24th.
At a specific time or?
At let's think, if we do it for 6:35, we lock ourselves into that being the first item on the agenda.
Fine with me. Let's just get it done.
Okay. Yep. I'm trying to think if there's something else burning that's coming up for the.
Well, Paul Sabelli is going to want to do his tax classification hearing. It's got to be either that one.
First meeting in November.
Okay. all right.
Okay, so I move that we continue it to October 24 at 6:35 PM.
Second.
All those in favor? It's post. Okay. So I don't have anything burning under chairs report that's not already covered under other members report. So I think the first members report. Al, is that you? 21 Highland Street, Shopsy? Because we're also going to be talking about that later on.
I'm on, we're gonna be talking about the committee, and that's really all I have to report on.
Okay, MWR, Metro West Regional Transit Authority update.
That's me.
Okay,
As my colleagues will recall, I was the honoree of appointment to the Metro West Regional Transit Authority Board, Advisory Board. And it's actually been pretty interesting. I want to give a quick update on what's going on there, and there's more to come. This is a Metro West transit group that runs the bus lines, community bus lines. We have Route 7 that goes through town. About 16 Metro West communities. They've got about $15 million annual expenditures to run this program. Our assessment is about $100,000 a year for the cost of that. And we're served by Route 7, and we also take advantage of the Dial-A-Ride program for people to get rides through, again, various parts of the network here. The network has actually mostly recovered from the pandemic, where ridership dropped substantially because people, weren't traveling around as much. There's a new administrator, which is pretty exciting. The prior administrator had been there some time. He retired. A new gentleman has come in. And as a result of some recent lobbying, turns out that the Metro West group had been substantially underfunded by the state for a variety of reasons. And they were basically about getting a third of what other communities were getting in terms of state support. And finally, the most recent legislative session corrected that, and our legislators were helpful in that. So the state funding increased from about $3 million a year for the Metro West group to about $9 million a year. So a significant increase in state funding, which allows them to begin thinking about some additional services potentially. And one of the things they're piloting is what they call a Catch Connect service. There are 3 towns, not including Southborough, that have the ability to basically phone in for a ride request and immediately get on the list to get transportation routed to you, typically within an hour, to go someplace within the town, basically. And they're piloting that. And I've talked with them about some other opportunities for Southborough in terms of things like the train station to Route 9, for example, during commuter hours and back. And so I think there's some possibilities there that will continue to be developed. But I think, again, it's going to be interesting to think about other things that Southborough might take advantage of with this network. They're also working to expand the network throughout the entire Metro West to connect some of the, I think there are like 12 different regional transit groups in the Metro West arc around town that some of them work together well, many don't work together all that well. And so there's opportunity to connect there. So again, pretty interesting network problem, and I will update folks as things develop there, but it's I think, going to be some opportunity for us, I hope, there. So that's the pitch. Thanks.
okay. Regional dispatch update.
Yeah, I made contact with, excuse me, the Holbrook Regional Dispatch, which is the one that's currently in discussions with Sudbury, and we're going to take an entourage on a road trip there on the 19th to have conversations with them and see what their services look like, what the terms are. So that's really just the quick update on that.
Who's going in? Who's the entourage?
Well, Sam and I, Mark, and the chiefs.
Where is it physically housed?
Holbrook.
Holbrook, okay. Holbrook and Sudbury.
Fire station, I believe.
I haven't been there, but I know they've got their own center, and they serve a number of communities. I believe they serve Sharon. They're about to do Sudbury. What they reported to the Andy Sheehan in Sudbury was that they are considering building a second center in the Metro West area.
Is it a rec?
Yes,
Yes, it will be.
yes,
Who is going to do a second center in Metro West?
Holbrook.
They are going to build a second one?
There are no plans. This is loose talk at the moment. That was kind of that they said that if they expanded much more, they might consider that.
Because Foxborough, which what I think of
Yes.
Foxborough, right?
Mhm.
Told us they could handle the whole state if they needed to. That's
Yeah,
how
I reached out to them and I'll reach out again. They never got back to me, but I'll,
I
back up
got the
the-
person's name if you want it. I
Okay.
got a cell phone number.
okay,
That-
I will back
That's
up the
great.
battering ram and edit them as well. That was just the Holbrook was very enthusiastic, so,
With the diplomatic battering ram.
yes.
Good. Al, also a quick update. Turns out that the Framingham Chief of Staff, Mike Tocino, is also on the MWRTA Advisory Board. And I ran into him at the recent meeting and asked, how are things going? He said, we're full steam ahead. We're building, and so that is going to
Yeah.
happen. And he said, we're looking for participants in that. and
Okay.
us. So another option there potentially, but a lot of distance to be covered yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are clearly honing in on a set of choices. This is gonna take us, we would be lucky, I think, to pull flip the switch sort of Q1 of 25. This is not something you do quick.
Yep. Marguerite? Do you want to speak to office hours? I know Sam was also there, but
Speak to what?
select board office hours update. Maybe there's nothing to report. I know.
Oh, you mean
Crowd
what did we do in the office hours?
Oh, yeah.
We talked to two people, which was very helpful.
Okay.
And then I noticed that on the Sam didn't quite agree with me, but on the town website, the dates of the office hours were all posted, but no place and no time, which has been immediately rectified
Okay.
by Vanessa, and I think Melanie fixed it.
Okay.
So I'm convinced that next office hours, there'll be at least a dozen people.
Well, they're all 6 o'clock here, right?
Yes.
6 to 7, right?
Yep. All right. PWP update.
Me again?
Yes.
Per our conversation at the recent meeting, Mr. Litt, Debbie DeMurray from the planning board and I have met to talk about next steps here. And we are moving forward with creating a process and paperwork with that. Going to do thanks substantially to Mr. Litt for his usual motive power to keep us moving on track. Two tracks here. One is to amend the 1991 Special Act of the Legislature to create the DPW and included in that the Public Works Planning Board. We're amending that to reestablish the appointed tree warden position, to dissolve the Public Works Planning Board, and then administratively change the references from Board of Selectmen to Select Board in there. So that's what we propose to have the legislature do. And then in concert with that, replace the Public Works Planning Board with a standing bylaw committee that is town controlled and meets our current needs appropriately. And so that will be manifested in 2 warrant articles we expect for the coming town meeting in March. One is to ask for the authority to petition legislature to amend the 1991 Special Act. Second, to approve a new bylaw to create a Public Works Advisory Committee, temporary name here, but descriptive, when that special act is approved, because it takes the legislature a long time to act. But if we have that bylaw in place, ready to go when the special act is approved, then we'll be, I think, in good shape to do that. So making efforts to keep the various stakeholders involved in the process and communicated. I think Mr. Litt has had a good conversation with our DPW superintendent, who by all accounts appears to be at least informed and generally supportive of the process. So I don't think that's an overstatement. Enthusiastic, that's good. I have not seen him enthusiastic yet for about much. He's a very calm guy, but we maybe have been able to spark enthusiasm here, which is great. And then we're probably going to have, from a timing standpoint, Mr. Litt has developed a timeline that if the legislature moves at its usual pace, it'll probably be 2025 before all of this settles out. But again, you got to start and make progress at their pace. And so again, expectation is that we'll provide updates as things develop here, but it seems to be off to a great start, and hopefully it will get done eventually. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Kathy, do you want to speak to Heritage Day? And also I see you've got the
Yes.
news item about the Southborough Medical Center.
Reliant.
Reliant.
It's hard not to call Southborough Medical Group. So I went, and I'm sharing this with Sam too. He's been extremely interested in this one, but we've had such a horrible last few days worldwide. I just thought this is at least some good local news. So we've been worried that Reliant wasn't going to be able to execute a new lease with the previous owner, Tony Kwan. There seemed to be they were pretty far apart. I think it had a lot to do with the TIs that Reliant wanted to be able to reformat their space in some different ways so things flow differently. So we were worried because Reliant is a big employer in Southborough. A lot of people use Reliant for everything, it's one-stop shopping as far as your medical stuff goes. It's a taxable entity. It pays a lot of real estate taxes. So for all those reasons, we didn't want another, vacant building downtown. I wish they'd buy that corner pile of dirt and do something with that one too. But anyway, so good news is an entity called Thomas Park Investments, which is a real estate investment firm, has bought it from Tony Kwan for $37 million. That is $552,000 of real estate taxes with our current tax rate. So it's a lot of money. And on top of that, they have, as part of the lease, given the Reliant a bunch of money for tenant improvements to do the things they want to. So it's a long-term lease. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about Reliant going where for quite a while. So I thought that was
Excellent.
news,
Great news.
Yeah. And then the other happy thing is we had a very nice Heritage Day, I think. Marguerite and I represented the select board in the parade. Kate Donahue marched with us too. So it was a gorgeous, gorgeous day. You could have had a better day. So I think everybody looked happy, and it was a usual great turnout as far as the field and all the things. There was a ton of food trucks and all kinds of things. So I think it was another really successful Heritage Day, and one that is unique to Southborough.
Great.
Okay.
And the bacon guy was back too, even better.
What?
The bacon guy was back with food truck. That was even better. You
I
didn't,
don't know what you're talking about, but
bacon guy, you didn't have to eat it. You just could walk around and taste it.
well, the seafood guy was there too. So no, they
was
all
great.
good stuff.
All right, Mark.
I can't compete with bacon. So
Okay.
No, I think I'll just pass.
Very hard,
Yeah,
very hard.
really quick. I know that I've been sending them around to the board and trying to shop these around a little bit. I've been doing, this week will be my 4th edition of Town Administrative Newsletter. Staff had helped me to come up with the name Word on the Common Street, which seemed to stick. I won't tell you what it originally started out as. And we've tried to do it as a blend of information and also, project updates. Use it for a little bit of recruitment, use it for a little bit of fun, talk about employee news, talk about grants, community events, select board office hours. So we're trying to push that. We'll continue to do that, reaching out to other departments and getting information. The last issue talked a little bit about the new police satellite office that they're looking to establish at Finn. Been working with the school on that for a while, so that was exciting. The chief was happy to have an outlet for that. So we'll continue to do it. I enjoy it and it's been fun to do it. I will say that I rely heavily on the people who are better at this stuff than I am. I'll work on the content, but people need to make it look pretty. So Katie and Melanie and Vanessa in my office, do a great job, making it actually readable.
How are you distributing this?
So I have it, right now, it's up on the website. We are putting out, links through, I still call it Twitter. But X,
Twitter X.
because I don't know what you call the tweets now, X's, I don't know. So, Jay's laughing at me, sorry, Jay. We've talked about putting hard copies, having those out at the county and select board office, but also putting them down at the senior center And then, you know, library, putting them out at other places as well.
Mark, this is a great thing. You might consider the blog.
Yeah, that's,
think it's
I was
them.
gonna suggest.
Yeah.
We could do that.
I think that,
Absolutely.
I think it's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
And,
We could send them
Can I
directly
hold
to
up a
them.
copy so that.
Yeah, it's,
This is what
the picture's a little bit,
Terry, I don't know if you can.
Yeah, the reason I ask is
Yeah.
I'm gonna suggest two other things. One, I don't know, the schools send information packets home on a fairly regular basis. And I don't know whether you can get it in information packets.
okay.
So that would be one, at least they used to, I believe they still do that. And slipping them into the tax bills.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, those go everywhere.
They
The
do.
the only reason I say that is I've never seen one. And so.
A tax bill or the report? Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I'll send you mine.
No, I've seen plenty of tax bills. It's, I've never seen the letter. So if, you know, if we could find a way to piggyback on a mailing, I think that would be highly desirable.
But again, a great thing to do. And Mark, I think this answers, I talk to a lot of people. I get a lot of questions that are basic questions about what's the town doing.
Mhm.
I think this can answer a lot of those.
Absolutely.
things.
Sure.
People are interested, but just totally
Yeah.
uninformed.
And
Surprisingly.
as I offer every time that I send it out to make sure that you guys are all seeing this, if there's feedback, you know, because like a lot of times you get a lot of correspondence from me, a lot of things,
Mhm.
it just goes into a black hole. I don't know. And I will out Sam a little bit, usually 30 seconds, 45 seconds after I send something, Sam's always responding. So I do know there's a beacon that, you know, that somebody is seeing it. But if there are things that you want to see, if it's like, hey, how about you include something on this? How about we include something? Please send those things along, you know, because, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, that we're touching on some of the, you know, the right things. And again, it's every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So if we don't get it in this time, you know, we can.
Well, one of the reasons why when we had our agenda meeting, I wanted to put this on the agenda is
Yeah.
for the exact reason. So
Yep.
just spread the word that we're
Absolutely.
doing this because it's something that's been like brewing for a couple of years.
Yep.
I think it's a great credit to
And the
you and the
staff is
South.
taken to it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay. You have a quick comment?
Yeah, Tim Woodland Road. I just wanted to point out, since you mentioned Twitter or X or whatever it's calling itself this week, that the Twitter feed on the town website says there are no tweets unless you happen to be a subscriber and logged in. So it's not very effective as a communications tool for those of us who don't.
We
I
don't
don't know if
tweet.
there's
So
a
I-
technical way
right.
to fix that. but
Okay.
It's clearly
Alright.
not doing the job that
Okay.
way.
Sure. I was just gonna point at you. I didn't expect you to comment, but okay.
We all put to work.
Everybody just. kinda-
Okay, yeah.
The IT managers, should say something. Jason Montijo, IT manager for the town. This is unfortunate that X, Twitter, Elon Musk has decided to turn off this feature and not allow people to see these items on certain feeds. Civic Plus is aware of this. They're trying to work with their
Musk.
development team to make this possible so you can see this on websites. What they're doing is making people have an account with Twitter so that you can see it. So if you don't have an account with Twitter and if you log onto the website, you won't see a feed there. But if you have a Twitter account, X account, formerly known as Twitter, you will have that feed there for you so that you can see the alerts coming up. It's not something that we have control over at this point. The good news is that people that do have X, they're able to see, you know, the messages that come out on their phones, on their apps, if they log on the website. So the people who have the tool have the ability of seeing the alerts that are coming out. The people that don't have the access to X are not going to just see that at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So you ran awards?
Yeah, so just a couple of things, we've been doing, fairly well in terms of grant awards. The Department of Energy Resources Green Communities Division. We have, an annual award this year. It was a competitive grant cycle of a little over $57,000, 10,000 of which is to offset the, purchase price for the hybrid police cruisers. which is the difference between what it would cost for a gasoline vehicle versus a hybrid vehicle. And then another $47,000 to upgrade the lighting at Trotter School. I just would like to credit, Mr. Parent for continuing to foster the relationships he's had with the Green Community staff. And we have been successful every single year, some bigger than others, but unfortunately, early in our career with Green Communities, we were too successful. So we hit that threshold where it was $250,000 a year every year for a number of years. And they said, okay, you have to get smaller now for a little bit. So, we continue to get money every year from them. And so I appreciate his efforts. Secondly, police have received some grants from the Executive Office, Public Safety. There's a new piece for the body worn camera program, signal devices, corresponding corresponding battery packs. They automatically activate the camera when the officer turns on the cruiser lights or pulls a firearm out of the holster. So there's no, nothing that you can forget that I have to think about turning my camera on as well. So it automatically happens. Again, it protects the officers, protects the people that they're serving. And that was about $16,000 for that. We also did receive the annual state 911 grants of $52,000 for support and incentive, another $28,000 for training. And if you recall, Rep. Donahue had gotten us the money for the 911 recorder. And so that has been ordered and that is all set. And since we're talking about grants, I know we talked about this a little while ago, about a month and a half ago, but fire did receive about $300,000 as part of a regional grant with Ashland Hopkinton for the SCBA air packs. And so the chief is in the process of getting those ordered. So hopefully we should have those in the near future. So we've been doing fairly well with that. And one final item, and I will say to Mr. Stiver's point, I did see our DPW superintendent excited, was watching the paving of St. Mark's Street today. So the base coat has gone down. It looked nice. It's obviously a lot more drivable. Ms. Cook tested it out about 20 minutes after the roller had left. And they will be putting the final coat down. It's the same paving company, Lazaro, that is doing Parkerville. So Lazaro is scheduling Parkerville. As soon as Parkerville is scheduled, they are going to do the final coat over here on St. Mark's Street and then simply striping. So we're really in good shape. It looks
And
nice.
then the bid responses on the new park bid are.
They're due this
okay.
week.
So that's one of the.
Yeah, to do this week, so I'll be
Hopefully
letting the
final
board know, hopefully everything comes in as we expect it to. I will say that there are, probably about a half dozen or so more vendors who have taken out plans than last time.
Excellent.
So we appear to have a broader audience. So hopefully that results in better pricing.
Okay.
Okay.
There's 3 items on the consent agenda. Or do we have any holds on the consent agenda?
One small.
Okay.
So
Any other holds?
Well, are we just gonna do C without talking about? And so Marguerite, you've approved these job descriptions? You and,
The thing with the job descriptions, Vanessa gave me 3 in her department. And I think these job descriptions, I went over them with Sam, I talked to him about. I think these job descriptions will be like templates for the whole rest of the town. There was ADA language that needed to be in italics in every single one that we do. And there was another disclaimer saying, these are most of the requirements, but not every single one of them. Obviously it would change. So I have them here. They are quite penciled, as you will see. And Vanessa is out this week. I think she's on vacation.
Yes.
And I'm also gonna sit with Melanie, I believe, when she is ready, and we would just type them up. So they will be like lovely. They are 4 pages long. And I talked to Ryan at the library about he thought 4 was long. I said, I don't know, maybe I should talk to everybody about it. 4 pages too long? What do you think?
You're talking about as a template for. I think Are all of these 4 pages? Let me see here.
Yeah, all of them are pretty long. Yeah, I don't mind 4 pages necessarily.
There's 3.
I think I think it's not redundant in any places. I think it gives a really good in-depth picture of what the person actually has to do every day. And one of the things that was suggested, and I think it was Sam, is that almost every job description should include language that the person will maintain confidentiality with any information that they may have relevant to the job.
I found that language in all of the descriptions in here, and
Mhm.
you know. First off, I found that I had only the most kind of minor 1-word comment, but I'm not sure it really, I wouldn't hold the job description based on that. So I reviewed them. I found them they're pretty lengthy. I found them an accurate description of what the people who occupy these positions
Yep.
do. I thought one kind of quirk is for business administrator 1, there is that addendum that mentions acting as an administrative liaison for boards and committees with
Right.
employee vacancy or a lack of assistant, EDC, CPA, ZBA. So that's something that's kind of flexible that can, I mean, the addendum is flexible enough that if there was a change, then.
So we have certain positions that have titles, business administrator 1, business administrator 2.
Right.
But they have general responsibilities, but
Okay.
then there is going to be specific responsibilities within the given department. The one that you reference obviously is the shared position between the select board and the treasurer's department. So, it's got to be specific to some of those things. Just to put a little color into this. Personnel board, we've had job descriptions that have been done over the years by different people. It's kind of like getting, an electrician and they do something this way. Next person doesn't like that. They do it a different way. So you can always see where the different person was.
Mhm.
We've had different formats. We've had different things, and personnel board wanted to standardize. And so, we've gone back and worked through with the consultant who did the pay and class study and incorporated all the changes into the new job description, put them all into the new format, sent them back to the departments, asked the departments to review them. The department has to review them with the staff to get them approved if they have their own appointing authority. And if not, then to send them back to us if they're select board is the appointing authority. Then they need to go to personnel board and be approved. This is kind of a long process. You're just seeing the tip of the spear with these 3. Al's already out. Al's already tapped out on this. So this is just the beginning of ones that will come back to you because you do have quite a few that fall under your appointment.
So this is your goal, your in L two? Who's got this goal?
Well,
Marguerite?
I've got it, but the other thing is, if you can look at this page, grammatically, it needed a heavy line in it.
So those are.
So are
reflected
those
here?
in here or no?
I do not know if they're in the packet. Let me
don't
see, I
think so.
skimmed
So
over. it.
I
No.
don't know that it
This
would
is,
be.
this is executive assistant, business administrator 1, and assistant town
So
administrator.
these that we've got in our packet don't reflect your edits?
So can I just stop? So the first thing I was asked whether there had any holds, and now we're talking about C. So let's just hold C. Okay.
Okay,
Why don't we just?
We'll
hold it
definitely hold
till
it,
next
given what she
meeting?
just
Let's
said.
table it to
Yeah.
10/24.
Yeah.
Okay.
good.
That's okay. Just the final thing I would say on it is my reference point of the times that we've discussed job descriptions is
Mhm.
just for the sergeant position, I'm sorry, lieutenant position. Yeah, police hadn't been updated in a very long time.
Mhm.
And also, when Sam and I worked on the job description for a potential new job, the grant coordinator / and that ultimately failed, didn't
Yes.
get approved. So, I mean, in comparison to those, I think that these look like they're in, very good shape.
I
Yeah,
think
but
it's more, I
Marguerite's
think it's
saying
more
that
putting them
reflects
into
just
a
that level.
format.
They're
it's
not.
change- Yeah.
So Marguerite disagrees with you.
The format is, I think the format, the overall structure with those things, it should be 4 pages and it has certain sections. And Vanessa and everyone else had put in what they actually do back and forth. The data was fine. The grammatical presentation was
Not so fine.
So
perhaps
substance,
needed-
yes, grammar,
Yes. Right, exactly.
Okay.
So it all should be third person singular without the subject, every single sentence. in
Yep.
there. And it's,
Okay,
there's like,
Professor Landry, are you going to have this ready for us for the 24th?
as soon as I can get Melanie,
and there may be, so then there may be more by the 24th.
yes.
Okay.
And I think once these are saying do like this to everybody else, then it should be fairly easy, because as you said, it's been the Wild West.
So then Sam's holding A, C, we're gonna table.
Table it.
B. Anyone holding B? No, okay. I move that the board approve common vicular license for Senti's Kitchen, 21 Turnpike Road, Southborough.
Second,
All those in favor? Okay, what was the hold you had for the open session meeting
on
minutes?
A for 929, line 15, I think it should say note instead of vote.
Line 15
15,
on 929.
929,
Oh, yeah. Note instead of.
note instead of vote.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay.
Major change.
Let's sort it back.
One letter.
Is that
It
it?
is.
Yep, that's it.
I move the board approve the open session meeting minutes for September
29,
29, 2023 as amended.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move that the board approve open session meeting minutes for September 18, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is discussion of flags fly in the old burial ground. So I usually like to try to set the kind of historical or procedural background to these. This one, I'm not going to go into the long history of this. Which goes back like 2 years. Other than that, the last time we considered this was June 20th, 2023, when we adopted the flag policy that's reflected in the packet. And the flag policy 2E allows the town to display Revolutionary War flags as approved by the select board along the stone wall exterior to the cemetery by the entrance to the old burial ground. There's 2 specified time periods. One is during the week before and after Veterans Day, which is coming up. So there's only 2 regular meetings between now and Veterans Day. And it makes sense for us to, I had hoped that we could take this up at the prior meeting, but we didn't have everyone here to do that. So that's why it's on the agenda for now. My own comment to this is I think that we should continue to fly the flags that have traditionally flown there. I think that's consistent with the I call it a compromise that was the basis for the policy, which it was a 3-2 vote. But I think hopefully some people have seen kind of the benefits of it. Basically, the folks who were most in favor of the flags that had traditionally flown there and were behind the opposition to the citizens petition in fall of 2022 that sought only the American flag and remove all the other flags. Basically, they compromised on the timing of when the flags would fly, and I think it was kind of implicit in the policy we had that we would, during those specified time periods, continue to fly the flags that had been traditionally flown there. With respect to I think I'm anticipating we're going to go next.
No, you're not, but go
Okay.
ahead. I promise you're not.
Okay. The location,
No.
okay.
See, I told you.
All right, the location is something that I think that Mark, we can't, go out there right now and, find the exact places where we put these flags. I would leave it to Mark and Bill Cundiff.
So I had a conversation. Obviously, I spent a good amount of time with Mr. Cundiff today for obvious reasons, and we did take a look and given the guidance that comes from the policy, if you're standing at the entrance to the old burial ground, and if you're moving to the left where the construction, towards where the construction is taking place, it narrows significantly very quickly. Obviously going to the right, back towards Common Street, it does open up quite a bit, and his recommendation is that, you know, you tell him the number of flagpoles and he will space them out appropriately along that right side, along the wall outside of the burial ground. So that's, and, you know, and obviously there were other questions as to, you know, in terms of maintaining responsibility for the flags. I know that that has not been maintained by the town or by DPW, but just understanding those pieces as well.
Okay. Kathy?
No, you want me to tell you what I was going to say?
Okay.
So I just want to clarify again under E, what we mean by the week before and the week after. So Veterans Day is always on the 11th, right? Of November, correct? Right? I got it. Okay, so are we saying you put the flags in on the 4th and leaving them to the 18th? Or are we not saying that? Are we saying something? Are we saying, well, the 11th, this time is a Saturday? Do you go the week before that and not count the week that is 11th and the week after? So what do we really mean?
I mean, I'm looking at the calendar here. I would be thinking we're gonna do it from Monday, go up on Monday the 6th, and then since it really would be DPW taking them up and down, maybe it would make sense to have Monday the 6th through Friday the 17th.
That would make sense.
Okay,
So we're getting a nod for Mr. Kalinda.
okay,
Okay, so again, it's the 6th to the 17th
6th through the 17th.
this
yes.
time. And as far as the flags go, can someone just remind us what the flag, and I think Mr. Wynot has changed them over time. So what was the latest group of flags that were up?
So I'm taking this from. Compare this also to pictures of the flags that were up there. Before the flag policy that we voted, I've got the Bunker Hill flag, the Continental flag, the First Continental Regiment flag, the Gadsden flag, the Moultrie flag, and the Appeal to Heaven flag.
That's 5 or 6.
That is 6.
So your proposal is to use
By
those.
those 6 flags. Sam?
Yeah, I'm okay on the timing. I'm okay on the location. I'm still not in favor of the Gadsden flag.
Okay.
I'm supportive of the others.
And Marguerite?
My question is, the flagpoles are going up. I'm a little mixed up on this. All those flagpoles are going up. And the rest of the year, they're just gonna be empty?
That's in there temporary.
There's, so my understanding, and please correct me, is that there are holders
Yeah,
in the ground
yeah.
so that the flag poles can easily be inserted and easily be removed.
So the poles come down when they're not,
There's not going to be anything on them. There probably shouldn't be up.
all right. Okay, no, I have no other question.
Yeah,
Oh.
we made a deal and nobody's exactly happy and nobody's. But that's the essence, I think, of a good deal, and I'm good with those 6 flags.
I'm good with the 6. I'm a little shaky on the Gadsden, but I think given the significant compromise the veterans made when we did this, that I think we should put the same 6 back up.
Okay. So with that in mind, would we also consider, we take the vote now to do this for both Veterans Day and Memorial Day? So we're gonna have to address the same issue to, a month before Memorial Day.
And
Please.
what's the timing for Memorial Day then?
Well, you start the week before Patriots Day and you go through the week after Memorial Day.
So Monday through,
So it'd be the Monday before Patriots Day, whatever. So
Yeah.
Patriots Day is 3rd Monday, so it'd be the 2nd Monday in April, right? Would be where it started. And then I don't know, Memorial Day is the last Monday, so you go one more Monday after that. So Memorial Day is the 4th Monday, so it'd be the next Monday after that.
okay.
Okay, so. I think that would be. Friday, April 19th, 2024 through,
You gotta be too late. The Patriots Day can't be that late.
I mean, I thought Patriots Day is April 19th.
No, it's the
That's
third
week.
Monday,
No, yeah.
Okay,
third Monday.
third Monday.
Week before
This is
that.
the 15th.
Okay, so, it's a. Okay, then
So I
Friday,
think you're right, Kathy, the 8th.
yeah, Monday, April 8th
Yep.
through
And
One,
1, 2, 3, 4, so Memorial Day is the 27th.
Tuesday, April 28th.
No,
Oh,
we
no.
gotta go, so Memorial Day
Yeah,
is May
Friday, May
27th.
20,
So then you're gonna go to the next Friday, which,
May,
or next
May
Monday,
June.
which would be June 2nd, June 2nd.
okay,
April 8th to June.
or June 2nd is a Sunday, so you make it
Sorry, June
Monday,
3rd.
June
June
3rd,
3rd,
so
Third.
Yeah.
someone doesn't have to work on that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
April 8th, June 3rd.
Is there any public comment? All right. Seeing that. Yes. Okay. All right, so I move that the board approve the flying during the dates that we just specified of the Bunker Hill flag, the Continental flag, the First Continental Regiment flag, the Gadsden flag, Moultrie flag, and the Appeal to Heaven flag. And that the exact location of them be selected by town administrator working together with our DPW superintendent.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda. Vote to establish the South Union School. Sorry, the vote to establish the South Union School Study Committee, to approve the committee charge, and Al, thank you very much for preparing a draft of the charge, which should be in everyone's packet. Do you want to
Sure.
speak to it?
Well, I'll very briefly, we talked about establishing a committee to study the future of the South Union School, and basically, we're looking at a period probably 4 to 5 years from now. What if anything should the town be thinking about with that building? And I put some stipulations there, which is the committee would make recommendations subject to maintaining a playground and a sledding hill and parking. There's more details in the proposal. And I think we would need to provide at least some level of technical resources as the committee identifies specific questions they might want to answer. I think the big question is the composition of the committee. And there seem to have been, and I think that's probably the principal discussion. I took the tack that a number of boards and commissions wanted to be involved. And so I said that Open Space would nominate a person, historical, ShopC, and the Rec Commission would all nominate a potential person for approval by this board. Oh, and the planning board, excuse me. And then there would be 2 members who live within half a mile of the facility and 2 general members. And now that's a committee of 9, which is big. The other way we could conceivably go is to simply try and bring a bunch of new blood in and not have such a heavy representation from the existing committees. And I don't have a dog in this fight one way or the other on that subject, but I'm interested what other people might want to consider.
I've gotten to the point that I think we should not do 9-member committees anymore. It's just really hard to keep them going and get enough people to come. So I would rather have 7 than 9 if I had my druthers, but more importantly, more big picture. I just don't know if this is the right next step. I still think the decision that's going to inform everything is what happens to Finn School. And until we know that, which is about 18 months away, I don't know whether this committee can be that productive. If you don't know that Finn is going to be open or not, I think that they may be looking at things that won't be relevant if Finn closes. So I hate to waste people's time, but I'm not against this. I'm just saying, I don't know if this is the right. I know the neighborhood wants this. So I hear that. Clearly the neighborhood wants to keep this building. I think we're probably headed toward that direction in some form or fashion, but until you know what Finn's going to be used for, I think that, they will come up with suggestions that won't be relevant if Finn closes.
Well, I think. In fact, what the supposition here is, what do we do if the building is surplus to our need?
Yeah.
Which implies, that Finn
closes.
becomes a municipal facility.
Yeah.
If the building isn't surplus to our needs, then we have, I think, a different set of
Yeah.
discussions. And so I think, again, I don't have a dog in this fight. I drafted it, but I have no pride of authorship.
Yes, I'm not helping very much.
Marguerite,
Can I listen to everyone else and then come back?
all right. Here's what I was gonna also, thank you very much for preparing the draft here. I didn't catch up to you when you prepared the first draft that that you had sent to me, but I think that, I don't look at this as a committee that is gonna go into a lot of like technical detail and things like that, other than that. I think the couple takeaways from our prior discussion of it were that there's other boards and committees that want to be heard on this. So I also wrestled with, I initially thought, why not just have a whole completely at-large board? But I think that it does make sense to have the four committees that you listed here. I don't know why planning board would need to be a board that would recommend I know that they have a role in the MBTA Communities Act. But this is really something more about, for lack of a better term, like a pie in the sky committee of a committee that would be thinking a little bit outside the box. What type of alternative uses for the space, would be attractive to the community, enjoy public support, and then even if there are things that are kind of outside the box, then that's something where, because the next step that we had discussed before was a feasibility study, having a professional look at, okay, could you convert this building to this type of use or that type of use? And the report that this committee could generate about like some of the things that Mr. Palmer talked about, some of the more outside the box ideas that you could use the building for, those are things that we could then give to someone doing a feasibility study and saying, can you provide some basic feedback on, are these things feasible, right? If you wanted to turn it to like a different type of recreation space. And I like the fact that you put in the, 4 to 5 year span, because that's realistic and, hopefully sends a message that there's nothing drastic that's going to be happening with this property, like anytime in the near term until, based on the conversation we had with John Perrin, I think he made a good suggestion of, why don't you first settle up on what's going on with the Neary School and then the future, how that impacts the future space needs of the town. And I also thought that in terms of the deliverable that we would want would be a report on, I'm just throwing this out there, what types of alternative uses for the building would be attractive to the community and enjoy public support. And then you could also have this committee charged with holding at least one public forum where you would hold it, public safety building, et cetera, one time where you would have an opportunity to hear from people that aren't on the committee. Sam?
Can I opine?
Yes, of course.
I agree with Kathy's comments that the Finn decision is a critical one, and that 9 committee members is unwieldy. On the other hand, I don't think the Finn decision is necessarily a deal breaker in terms of the next steps here, in the sense that, for example, this committee could actually look at two scenarios. One, if Finn is repurposed, what do we do? And second, if Finn isn't repurposed, what do we do? And that's not necessarily perfect, but I think that could provide some useful guidance going forward. So that, to me, does not preclude the committee being helpful under those two scenarios. And maybe there's another one there, but at least limit the scope of the possibilities here. Second, the committee composition. I think that this is something that is going to need broad support at town meeting eventually. And I think broader support is better. Related point is I've gotten feedback from a few folks in the neighborhood since they came in. And there's been a suggestion that the neighborhood wants to basically have the committee made up of all people from the neighborhood, which I think is a great way to get local feedback. On the other hand, I could envision a process that proceeded from that. The neighborhood comes up with a wonderful plan, but the rest of the town doesn't support it for whatever reason. So I think the ultimate goal is to find a solution that you can get approval at town meeting for. So I wouldn't necessarily discourage the neighborhood from forming their own ad hoc committee, for example, and coming up with the suggestions, but it seems to me the real thrust needs to be something that is broadly based, that can generate sufficiently wide support that town meeting approves whatever they come up with. And so that, for me at least, says that this is the right committee to focus on. I think we could make some progress over the next year or so with the two scenarios relative to Finn. And at least that could open up other issues that maybe we don't understand or anticipate now. It could be instructive at least, and might not be ready for a final decision at the end of a year or so with this group. So I think it's worth proceeding in this direction.
So if you went from instead of a 9-member board committee to a 7-member, and also it'd probably take forever to see the 9-member.
Yep.
What changes would you make to the composition?
I think forgive me, Mimi, will you be greatly offended if we don't have a planning board member? Okay.
That doesn't mean that you can't apply as an at-large. I mean, we want to have some positions that are available on an at-large basis. Yep.
Mimi Luttrell, Chair of the Planning Board. The Planning Board voted at our last meeting that we wanted a seat on this committee. The Planning Board is elected as the long-range planning arm of the town, and for us to be left off of this committee would be a gross injustice and would again be the lack of collaboration between the Select Board and the Planning Board.
All right, just another thing to consider is we have these committees, a lot of them are just like this, it's kind of a retread of the same people who are already involved in town government over and over again. I thought part of at some of the more recent meetings, we've seen people that I had not seen becoming involved again. And I mean, another school of thought is you just have, particularly if it's going to be more of a pie in the sky kind of committee, is keep it more at large. And that's the way you're going to get the most broad. It's not like this is a report where it's going to come and it's just going to be rubber stamped. It's going to say, yep, we're going to do exactly. It's more like, I view it as more to generate ideas that reflect public opinion, particularly in the neighborhood, because anything we do, we want to make sure that it has support from this neighborhood in particular. So I don't think it would be a gross injustice if there was not a public planning board appointee on this.
Neither do I. Think the neighborhood approach might be the better approach for now, until again, we know about Finn. But so Al, are we going to give up on affordable housing? It just doesn't look like it's in the cards. It's just not.
Well, my understanding is Shopsy is going to have a meeting with the Open Space Commission. I'm not quite sure what they're going to discuss with that. I'm highly skeptical that that building can be economically
converted to affordable housing.
I am too.
I did the following calculation. Sorry, I'm a calculator. You look at, if you take the 36% rule, which is you take $100,000 worth of income, 36% devoted to principal, interest, insurance, and taxes. And at the current interest rates, that implies a maximum pricing of about $300,000 a unit. At 4%, it's about $400,000. And you're not going to get more than 6 units, and maybe not that out of that building. So that's at best $2.4 million plus $1 million that we have in the Affordable Housing Trust monies. And a building that I think we would be, I'm probably wildly optimistic, could be renovated for $300 a square foot, and it's over 10,000 square foot. The numbers are just awfully dicey. They don't work at the current interest rate environment. So I'm skeptical that we can renovate that building for the resources that we have on hand.
So maybe we remove the Shopsy position and one at-large position to get us to 7.
Or let the neighborhood have a shot at it first, and come forward with ideas that they may and come up with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marguerite.
Okay, I think in a funny way, this building goes back to the fact that Southborough was 4 villages. It belongs in that quadrant of the town, and it's what you were saying, Kathy, and you too, Andrew, that it's the neighborhood's building. They should have first crack at what they want to live with there, I think. So I don't know if we could set up a technical committee at this point, or whether we could request that they did a sort of more informal set of brainstorms down there. But I think they're the ones that are going to have to look at it and live with it. And I think they should have the first chance to see if they can come up with something that would work.
Kristen Lavault has had her hand up in the
Okay.
attendees for quite some time. So, Kristen, thanks.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been taking notes as I've been going. So just a couple things. Initially, when we started this talk, Mr. Hamilton, Ms. Cook said, they don't really have a dog in this fight, and the committee is pie in the sky. I don't think that's true. I think you guys definitely have a dog in this fight. Like, this is essential to, many decisions as we move forward. And of course, I recognize what you're saying about the decisions around Finn's school being imperative, Neary, to how we proceed forward. I couldn't support this committee more. I don't like to call it pie in the sky. I don't think these are going to be people who are blue skying stuff. That's impossible. But we need to start the if then now, or else, however many years from now, we make a decision about Finn, or we make a decision about Woodward or Neary. We don't want to start this discussion then. So I think this is a really important committee. I disagree that we don't need the representation that we've talked about today. I think I agree with you. I know 9 sounds aspirational, but as mentioned last week, this is one committee where everyone wants to get behind. So perhaps if you're concerned about the 9, then you make some of those commission memberships voluntary. So if we don't put someone forward, that's fine, but I don't think that's going to be the problem. And so again, I guess my point is that this is dicey work, and I know it's difficult with calculations that we have to, that's my big issue. I'd rather us not be talking about calculations that we've kind of done ourselves or in the back of a napkin. Let's get the actual calculations of what it takes. I would agree with Mr. Hamilton. It doesn't seem like the greatest option for affordable housing, but in terms of turning over the property entirely for the town's use, I don't think we're there. So I just wanted to advocate those opinions, and that's it. Thank you.
Oh, Marguerite, I thought you were going to talk. We're waiting for the people. I'd like to say that I think that what the problem that we have here are 2 separate tracks, which one is really about the facilities and the cost of the facility, And those are best handled by, say, the departments figuring this out and figuring what a future course of that would be. But the reality is that why the neighbors came and what I really support about the initiative that they want to have is that you need to have an organization here that's not beholden to writing agendas, that can have multiple groups working on multiple tracks together and apart for a lot of different reasons, that come out with some very definitive types of business plan generated in this process. And some of that's going to require further fleshing out. But the reality is that what we really need out of the process is for that to happen. And if you are going to bind it in a committee structure, somebody very wise put this thought to me that, you know, the committee structures, if you start laying them out as firm and they have to run agendas and they can only meet when everybody can get together, stalls this process horribly. I saw it with the 21 Highland Committee had problems meeting for a while, and that slowed us down considerably. Where if you can form multiple multiple groups within a neighborhood committee system, where you have multiple people driving initiatives they really believe in and are willing to go out and do the work on, write the plans on. There are plenty of structures of business plans out there. I can propose a couple to the people working there as to what would be good for the town and for the select board to evaluate after the fact. And let the committee heads and the facilities talk amongst themselves about the costs of this and that. And if these groups need those costs, they can go and advocate for those from these department heads. I mean, all our committees are public. We're all open for them walking in and saying, hey, I need this information. And there's nothing against us giving the public information. So if they want to know if we have a maintenance cost from RAC on the building, well, that's, if they're not going to make any changes to the building, but need it, they'll have those costs to include in any operational plan for a business plan moving forward. But I would caution the select board, if they want real, interesting, driven solutions for potential uses for the property, that's the way to go. If you stick it in a conformed committee with only general members, that's going to slow it down. It's going to stymie creativity, and it's going to keep them from fully fleshing out a lot of different initiatives. Thanks.
Joe, I'm puzzled as to how you think that should work, though. Is it sort of a free-for-all? We should simply say, okay, folks in the neighborhood, go to it. Let us know what you think.
Put it this way, what I would say is that you form a lightning point. For instance, you know, Faye has been right on the front line of forming a lightning point of people getting information and understanding what's going on, right? And I know that some of the other select board members, you know, went out of their way to have meetings, to form other communication networks, right? If you endorse sort of a focus of say, Faye, you're now the focus of it, let people email you and let you say, hey, let's all get together for a meeting. Everybody can get together, sort of decide. And I've taken notes on this, and I have lots of ideas myself that I would present to people there and say, look, I think the process should be this. Let's get ideas on the table. Let's get our costs and operations on the table, then go in modular form and figure out which ones everybody wants to work on, and let the people break up, and the people that are passionate about the ideas that they're working on will get a finished product done. Because that's the way things get hauled across the line. You know this. All of you have been on this board. I mean, you always have to find the right people to haul it across the line. Well, when people want to haul it across the line and they're motivated, right? Right now they're motivated. Use the motivation to say, look, if you want something different on that property, you want to put a project forward, get it done. You have a year to make a plan. You know, they did the same thing at business school when I was there. I wrote plenty of business plans when I was over at Babson, because that's what they wanted you to do. You were supposed to write business plans, and part of it is starting with your idea, generating your numbers, doing your research. It's all out there to be done. And it doesn't have to be 100% solid. It just has to be 100% generally in the ballpark. And that's what needs to be done. And it presents options for this board a year from now to look at those and go, okay, when we're making those big decisions, when we know what the difference is going to be between our 40Bs and our MBTA initiatives, whatever they end up being. You know what my position is, but if the town goes forward with that, I understand that there are lots of functional changes and decisions that are going to have to be made. And all of you are going to have to endorse what decisions you're going to follow and want to be made. This gives some options for that property. As I said, I'm interested in it supporting itself. As a capital guy, I see this property, I say it's a beautiful piece of property for that piece of town, for those people, and anything that can support it and add value to that community is what they should be aiming for. And it's not just them. Some of these ideas will add for the entire community, right? if you put a pool there or you put any sort of field complex or anything, any of these sorts of ideas that generate some revenue, but provide assets for the town. That's important for all of us. And I think that that's worth exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't object to a more organic process, but my concern is, would that actually lead to a specific output within a specific time? And there's certainly some chance that it would, but I think we take a chance if we do that.
You're 100% right. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
Joe, I think what you're proposing is that rather than having a formal committee, you'd like us to put out an RFP, request for proposals for what we would do with this building, and then stand back and see what happens.
I
Because
guess in a figurative sense, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
I
that's-
think there's enough motivated people in that community right now that they want to see it go a certain direction and they'll.
So to that point, I mean, when we first started talking about this, that's what I had in mind is we would put out an RFP. Ultimately, that's where the rubber is going to hit the road unless the town is going to do all the development work. But the RFP that I had in mind was just focused on affordable housing. And then, you know, as we got more into it, I mean, Joe, in particular, you wanted us to look at option, and you were on the other committee, was to look at options beyond just affordable housing. So I think that I would prefer to keep it in terms of what the committee's deliverable would be pretty. I'm saying pie in the sky to mean not to demand, you know, formal business plan.
Flexible.
Yeah,
basically.
just some really like ideas. And if it turns out that they're not impractical, that they're too expensive, we're gonna learn that pretty soon, but
I could just see 7 or 9 people going all in different directions. You got open space with their charge. Think about the working committee for the park.
yeah,
How hard that was. Don't, you know, it was too big and it was hard. And you knew exactly what you were trying to accomplish too. It's not like you were given choices. You're trying to do.
so I think one of the things is to keep the time limit on this short. So this expires on June 30th. I think that's a good like outer limit on how long it could go.
24.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hi, I'm Faya. I live in the neighborhood and I think that there's like, we have a timeline. If we have a little support, if we have the right group of people, I think we're going to be able to organize something that's usable and functional. And if we can't, if we go, okay, we totally failed. I think that is, I don't think that's possible, but I'm very tired. I'm sorry. I do think that just having something that is sort of supported by you all will really help, because then it won't become like a bunch of neighbors with big ideas squabbling. It'll be like, we have a goal, we have a timeline, we've got these people from these boards, and we could even have a neighborhood core committee and then go visit the planning board and go visit the open space, like make sure, treat them like stakeholders, treat them like, you know, everybody's got an opinion. We could start a Google Doc and get ideas and wheedle it down from there, but make sure that it's like aiming towards something. Cause I'm an action-based person. I'm really the information person. I don't even know if I'd be on the committee, but I don't think anyone in my neighborhood, well, I don't want people in my neighborhood to just be like sitting around talking about their feelings. We want to make sure we're doing something productive. I think that's the goal of the committee. And I think that's what my neighbors and I want. And if there's 2 of us on the committee, that's lovely. If there's 1 of us on the committee, I think that's lovely. But I just feel like having the support that you all would offer, like with the timeline and maybe like a technical advisor, if that's not now in like after the Fin decision, like it would be the same process. I think my group would be happy just to make sure that we're heading somewhere and that eventually we're able to pitch in and help.
Okay, so there's 3 hands raised in the audience that, okay. Grant Farrington, Kristen Laval, who I know she's already spoken once, and Kevin Miller. So Grant, I think your hand was up first. Do you want to speak?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Grant Farrington, member of Historical Commission, but speaking in my private capacity. I just want to bring up a technical point on the composition of the committee. The last 2 points on it are that there shall be 2 members who live within a half mile of the property and that there shall be 2 at-large members. I've seen a good amount of charges in town, and I've never seen a committee charge that limits the potential membership based on geography. And that seemed to me to be a potential issue. I support the residents of the neighborhood, and it seems to me that there's no shortage of potential volunteers from the neighborhood. But I don't think that that should be codified in the charge for the committee. The property is a town property. We're all residents of the town, and it will ultimately be a town decision. So if there are going to be at-large members, I think that they should be from the town at large and not be required to live within half mile or another arbitrary designation within that kind of district line. And I think also, given the shortage of volunteers in town government already, that artificially restricting where someone can live, in order to volunteer for a committee could prove to be problematic. So if the committee charge goes forward and is up for vote tonight, I would request that that be changed in some way to be at-large members more generally, and then obviously if the select board wants to appoint people from the committee or from the neighborhood to the committee, then they're welcome to do so. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Miller?
Hi, Select Board. Can you hear me?
Grant,
Yes.
can you please put your hand down? As I see it still. Okay, thank you.
There you go. I just wanted to very quickly, Kevin Miller, chair of the select board, chair of the Historical Commission.
Congratulations.
It's it's a late night, and I would be with you in person were I not deathly ill, actually. So, but this is an important discussion, and I wanted to thank Mr. Hamilton, first of all, for bringing forward a charge that does include historical and open space and SHOPSI and rec. We had not had any conversation about it, and I just wanted to see how this conversation would play out. And if it helps in your decision making, I just wanted to tell you what, in my mind, the mandate from the Historical Commission would be, were we to have representation on this committee. And that would be simply to bring forward as many examples of the scores that there are across Massachusetts, from Charlestown High in the east part of the state to the 8 schools in Springfield that have been adaptively reused in a very productive way, and to provide examples of the way I think South Union could be put to productive use and saved, as it is, after all, one of only 2 individually National Register listed buildings that we have in Southborough. So that would be the mandate from the Historical Commission, as far as I'm concerned, is to bring forward examples of the way this building could be put to good use and saved. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Bonnie, do you want to?
I just want to clarify some information that I'm aware of anyway, to part of. When the town voted, I believe it was in 2002, to spend $568,000 to put an elevator at South Union School, we put a real hardship on the Arts Council. The building was unoccupied for 2.5 years. And when they moved back into the building, I actually worked on the lease with them. They couldn't bring up their membership and their programs to cover that lease, where they were not a town organization. So that building does have value. And the neighborhood, on another subject, started a youth service on their own in the 80s on Southfield Road. So neighborhood input, whether it's sidewalk committee, road safety committees, don't fiddle with Middle of Mass Highway. We stopped the crossover from Middle Road to Middle Road. The neighborhood can present what they think is valuable to them to a committee. Neighborhoods have great input, and I think if there's a neighborhood down there interested in that building, they can provide their feedback to that committee.
Thank you. Okay, Kristen, do you want to comment? And then I think we can wrap up
Ye-
public comment and then go back to.
Sure. Yep, absolutely. I'll keep it quick. So first of all, I second everything that Mrs. Faniff just said. Being on that side of town, I can't echo what she said enough. Just three quick comments. One, there seemed to be some apprehension from members of the board about putting together a committee that likely might disagree. We need that. We need all of the opinions at the table in this committee so we can work out all of those points of disagreement that inevitably our town will have. I think we'll actually find that most of our committees are somewhat aligned in terms of what they're thinking should happen with this building. But if there's a risk of disagreement, that's actually all the more reason why we need a committee to make sure we can kind of try to work through those as best as possible. The second, and Grant and I, Grant and I are members of similar committees, and I stand by him. But in your point about having two at large that are within a certain number of miles within the recreation center means they're just looking for South Side community representative. And I understand what you're saying, like everybody should matter and everyone should have an opinion. But at the end of the day, if you're not living on this side of town, there's not quite frankly the same, there's likely not the same type of connection that those in the neighborhood have. And I think that's the spirit of what that suggestion for the committee was meant to consider. That said, if two people from that side of town do not obviously apply, then I would also look to the rest of the town for the at-large members. And lastly, again, I think that we could continue and debate what we need and what we don't need, but it seems like such an overwhelming support for a committee to get started with some technical support from the town to give us a chance to find like what are those other opportunities is a win-win. If you have people willing to volunteer the time to start thinking about what if we give up Finn? What if we decide to rebuild Neri? What if we get Woodward? Like we need to start thinking about that now. And if you have a group of individuals who are willing to do that, then why wouldn't we move forward with that charge? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So, go ahead.
So a couple of items. Grant, to your point, we put qualifiers on committee memberships all the time. For example, in our tricentennial committee, we've said that we want to have at least one veteran. That's a qualifier as much as living within a particular area. So I'm comfortable with that. Others may not be.
I am too.
The other thing, so the most fundamental thing I think we have to decide is whether we want to go the formal committee route, which is subject to all the rules of committee membership, wonderful as they are. So that it then becomes a formal thing, or do we want to step back and say, bring us your ideas, and that's, the request for proposal. And in that particular case, it's really leaving it up to whoever is out there that is interested in coming up with an idea for the use of that building. We have time. If we fall on, one of the things that people I think in government are afraid of is failing. And I started and failed two businesses before I succeeded at one. If we fail by 6:30 next year, that's not a disaster. We dust ourselves off and try it again. So I can go either way, but I think that's the most fundamental decision we have to make is, do we simply say, perhaps we say to Faya, why doesn't your neighborhood come up with an idea for what you'd like to see there, and tell us what your idea is and what you think it's going to cost, and understanding that you're going to have to compete with all of the other worthy ideas that are out there. And believe me, there are lots of people who want to spend money in this town. that, that might be a perfectly reasonable way to proceed.
Here's my suggestion. I think I come down on, let's continue to proceed with forming the committee, because it is a pain in the rear end. Okay, this whole committee structure, you have to comply with the open meeting law. You have to post all your agendas 48 hours before you have a meeting. You have to keep minutes. You have to approve the minutes. But we can provide some support in that regard. And I think if you have a combination of some representatives of particular committees plus at large. So here's what I'm going to propose. That in the charge on the last sentence where we're kind of saying, what is the goal? I would add to the sentence where it says the committee shall make an interim report to the select board no later than January 1st, 2024, and an interim recommendation no later than May 15, 2024. I would say concerning what alternative uses of the building would enjoy broad community support. Just something like that. Doesn't necessarily have to be practical or impractical. That's something that we could take care of later, working out those details. And the committee should also hold at least one public forum. So that's how you have both the committee structure and then at least one opportunity where anyone who wants to come and give ideas can. And then for the composition of the committee, having in mind that the last committee about this building had designated representatives of SHOPC and the planning board. To make it more at large, I would go to 7 and have open space, historical, recreation, 2 members who live within half a mile of the property and 2 at-large members. And that doesn't preclude someone that's a member of another board from volunteering if they want to serve. Okay. Open space, historical, recreation, that's 3. 2 members who live within half mile of the property, that's 4. Am I doing my math right? That's 5. And then 2 at large, 7. I have to count with my fingers though. Yeah.
Can I, maybe I'm missing a step here, but I thought it was a discussion between supporting the neighborhood, like what Fi had said and what Joe had said, supporting the neighborhood and sort of doing more brainstorming about what could be done with that site and saying, we, the select board, support you in doing that. What can we do to help? And then the question is, do we hold off on a formal committee or do we have it going parallel? Because I personally think that these stakeholders will be good, but they will not solve the problem because
No, I'm
I
not
don't
even
think
looking
the
to solve the
solution-
problem, just to,
Well, I sort of was, I guess, I don't know. But I think there has to be a use for that building that the neighborhood likes and the town accepts. I do not see it yet. I don't think it's going to be recreation. I don't think it's going to be affordable housing. I don't think it's going to be just the use of open space. I think it needs some creative minds who live there, so they're invested in it, to go away for a while and to talk to each other and to come up with some other.
so, and this has that, another thing, on a 7-member committee, you can have a group of 3 people talk amongst each other and generate an idea to come back. It's when you bring in the 4th person, or you have the group of the 3 that starts talking to the other members that you.
See, I think
mentioned
that might
meeting level.
constrain the process in a way that's not helpful.
So then in terms of the next step, we could just do nothing and then about a committee charge and then have a neighborhood group say, you guys organize yourselves and come back to us. I mean, another way of doing that is just having a public forum, but I think that this is a good approach of you have a committee charge and charged with having one public forum. Again, I think that the work product for this report, if it's kind of general in nature, that's okay. We're just trying to use the time between now and when we're gonna have a better idea about the space needs to just kind of get ideas that could then inform a more technical feasibility study, etc. Yep.
As I said, I think there are 2 tracks. I think it's fine to have a formal committee like that, as long as the neighborhood feels empowered to do its own thing.
I-
Because that way you can have both of what you really want, which is something formalized, but the neighborhood has to get its act together, mobilized to get what are going to be real solutions online. If they're both acting in tandem, they can both learn from each other.
That's what I'm trying to do here.
And I thought that was what you were
Okay.
Yeah, and Andrew, my main focus is again to use the resources of the neighborhood as they have evidenced great interest in doing. And I guess to Joe's point, if we do have a parallel track here with a more formal committee and find a way to encourage and support a neighborhood group to operate there, would that reduce the enthusiasm of the neighborhood to participate is my question. If the answer is no, I think that's the right solution is to do both.
Okay.
Thea, do you have any insight on that one?
I don't understand the question.
So if we have the formal committee that we appoint here, but also in parallel, say to the neighbors, we encourage you to organize, meet, study, produce recommendations, et cetera, independent of that committee. Does that reduce your enthusiasm for doing that neighborhood activity?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, just because it's so open-ended and it just feels like here's some ideas that won't go anywhere with no like guarantee that they're going to be like, we'll be able to flesh them out, I guess. Like I can definitely pass on to my group, like let's make a big list of all the things that we think we could do with this building and put it on a Google Doc and have that, but it doesn't feel very, like, I think we want to be involved with the process, like the official process. We like want to work with people that are like, that have the skills to, I don't know, like go about this. Like, I'm not a government person, so I literally don't know what I'm doing, which I think is fine, but I think that the committee structure is the thing that's going to help my.
But if we did that formally, for example, is it, I'm trying to understand, I guess, what you think ought to happen. Are you suggesting that we ought to have a 7-member, 9-member committee of only neighborhood people?
No.
Okay,
I would.
Committee, that's a structured committee.
okay. I think that's what Andrew's suggesting here.
Yeah.
then.
Okay, I
Is
guess I just don't know what the parallel track would be, except the
Oh.
committee asking for the neighborhood to put input or something.
Yeah, I thought it was a more organic process that you were suggesting that the neighborhood would by itself organize and come up with a structure, a process, a recommendation without a quotes formal town committee approach that limits your ability in terms of open meeting laws and all those kind of things.
I don't know the distinctions of those, honestly, until you just said it. I'm like, they both sound really hard, but like organizing something on our own is, I think that's why I'm here, because we wanted a committee to be formed with members of our neighborhood
That's what we're
representatives.
trying to do.
So that's what I think Andrew has proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood, sorry. So Andrew, I support what you're suggesting.
There's some nodding of heads.
Me too.
How about this?
Let me make one suggestion.
Okay.
Charges can be changed
Yes.
and, we can start a committee. And then, in fact, it's quite common for a committee to then review their charges and say, well, what we really thought we wanted to do was this. Can we just change our charge to be that?
Marguerite and I are looking at each other. We recognize this. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it too.
To begin with,
why
there's an
I-
expiration date, all right?
Yeah.
So that if the process goes and it's just not,
If we fail, we fail. It's,
Exactly.
there's, it's not a disaster. Because, we have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
And as you know, anything in government takes time.
Right.
So I'm good with your changes. I mean, I think there's a role for planning, but quite frankly, the members of the planning board are going to have their hands full for
there's
the
not
next
going to be a
year.
select board representative on this committee either.
No,
So, okay, so the composition would be. So how about this? I'll make a motion that we come back at the next meeting with the revised charge that reflects 7 members open space, historical, recreation. Two members who live within half mile of the property and two at large. The kind of deliverable is make a report about what types of alternative uses of the building would enjoy broad public support, hold at least one public forum.
Yep, yeah, I'll take care of it. Half a mile would take you pretty close to the Finn School, I think. I'll draw a circle.
I think we're gonna get some people that meet that criteria, and if not, then, we'll just
Well, then we'll go to Plan
answer
B.
the criteria.
Again,
Okay, so I think I made a motion.
second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? You're against?
It's committee, so.
What do you say?
I'm against the committee. I think it's premature till we get the Finn decision. I think that they're gonna spin their wheels. I'm all for the neighbors.
Yeah.
Coming up with, once we know what's gonna happen in that building. So. Every once in a while.
I hear you, I hear you. But
But
we have people interested.
I,
We could just
it's a 4-1 vote.
not talk about this for another 3 years or,
And we will.
okay.
Move forward.
All right, so the next item on the agenda. The open meeting law complaint against me filed by Corey
Thank
Spalding.
you.
So this is in,
Be careful what you wish for.
so this is in the packet, everyone I think was here at the meeting where Miss Spalding appeared and spoke on public comment, and you can find on the internet the other instances where this has occurred in many, many other towns in Massachusetts. I received a large volume of email from her, which presses to have the matters that are referenced in her OML complaint form put on the agenda for a formal discussion by the select board again. The complainant person who's making the complaint doesn't live in Southborough. And Mark, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but one way we could do this is we talk about this in executive session, or we vote to sign counsel to respond to the complaint. But I think what our town council has suggested is referring the complaint to him for a formal response, but also taking a vote in open session that the select board believes that it's within the sole discretion of the select board to select what items are put on the agenda for Southborough Select Board meetings. Did I get the gist of that?
You did.
Okay. The idea is that someone from another town doesn't really have a right to tell our select board put this on an agenda if it's not otherwise, we don't want to.
It's a frivolous.
Frivolous sounds right. As far as adjective, she's bringing up something that happened, she says 13 years ago, has nothing to, she's bringing up something, I don't know what she's talking about. Then she's bringing up something that happened 7 years ago. One that we are well aware of, that as far as I'm concerned, was resolved satisfactorily. Steps were taken to make sure it didn't happen again. So I see no reason for this to be on our agenda. We've got too much else to deal with besides something that I think has no merit whatsoever.
Okay, so I move that we take 2 votes. First is that the select board formally take the position that the select board has the power and the discretion to determine what's on the agenda for its meetings. As the sole authority of what can and cannot be placed on the formal agenda for its meetings.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye. And the second would be that the board vote to refer the open meeting law complaint filed by Corey Spalding to our town council for a response.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Final item on the agenda is public comment. ironically. And seeing no public comment, I move that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
It was fast, Al.
Oh,